Dayton's ESPN Radio. It's the Justin Kinner Show, live here on ESPN Dayton, 1410 Wing AM. Tweet the show at 1410 Kinner or give us a call at 457-9464. We now send you to the Wing Studios in Kettering. Here's your host, Justin Kinner.
All right, everybody, welcome in. Happy Friday. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, live here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. Everyone's always a little bit more upbeat on a Friday, and I know we are. We're excited heading into the weekend. We're getting closer and closer to Selection Sunday. March Madness just around the corner. March technically just around the corner. In fact, this is our last show of February.
Wow.
When we come back, we'll be back on the air in March. And I can't think of anyone better to bring on the show today to talk all things March Madness than Clark Kellogg. Clark Kellogg will be joining us coming up here top of the 4 o'clock hour. So 1 hour from now, we'll talk March Madness. We'll talk Ohio State, the Dayton Flyers, Wright State Raiders, and more. That's all coming up at 4 o'clock. CBS college basketball analyst Clark Kellogg will be joining us coming up around the corner. We're looking forward to that. But a couple things we did not have time to dive into yesterday, Kev. Of course, Mel Kiper put out his latest NFL mock draft. And of course, that always brings about a lot of fun discussion, big picture. So I want to open up with that and take a look at that. And again, oh, wow, see, it didn't make me sign in this time. So I'm pretty happy about that. So we'll hit the little NFL music. We'll give a little bit of feel to the show today as we are officially off and rolling. So ESPN's Mel Kiper puts out him and Todd McShay kind of every couple weeks. They put out their mock draft. So next time Todd McShay will give his. But here is what Mel Kiper just produced yesterday. It was just released. This is the first time ever. He's been doing this since 94, I believe, or 84. I can't remember. But either way, it's been a while. It's been a long time that he's been putting out these mock drafts. And he has never included trades in his mock draft. But he said that this year there is no doubt in his mind that there is going to be quite a few trades in this upcoming NFL draft, whether it's just a swap of picks or it's going to be a conglomerate of picks used to be able to get a guy like a Deshaun Watson or potentially now a Russell Wilson, in which we're officially hearing that. So that's going to be something to dive into here shortly. But the Jacksonville Jaguars, no change, no surprise. This one is a lock. Mel Kiper says, do not overthink this. Lawrence is the best quarterback in this class, a player with superstar potential around whom new coach Urban Meyer can build. The Jaguars will select Trevor Lawrence. This is one that there is no doubt about moving forward. But where things get interesting is that number 2 pick, where the New York Jets are currently sitting. They have a big decision to make of whether they are going to move forward and keep Sam Darnold as their starting quarterback, or are they going to move on from Sam Darnold and look to completely hit the reset button. And that is a good possibility as well. But he has the New York Jets, Kev, trading back with the Atlanta Falcons. He has the Atlanta Falcons trading up to select. Well, they have a problem of their own. They're going to be selecting the quarterback from BYU, the Wilson kid.
Really? Well, how would you think they would have to trade up for him?
That's where I was kind of confused as far as why they would need to move up to number 2 to get Zach Wilson, but they are locked in. Zach Wilson's resume and his stock just keep building as each day goes on, to the point to where the Jacksonville Jaguars are looking at him too, and we all know that that's not going to happen. But Zach Wilson has definitely shot up the boards. It reminds me, this draft reminds me of the draft that Baker Mayfield shot all the way up to number 1. Sam Darnold was the Trevor Lawrence of that draft back in 2018. We were not, when the season ended, and even the early parts of January and February, Kev, Baker Mayfield was not being discussed as a potential number 1 overall pick. He was being looked at as kind of like the Zach Wilsons and the Trey Lance quarterbacks of, he'll be picked within those 5, but he's not going to be the face of those 5. Baker Mayfield, by the time we even got to April, all of a sudden, boom, shoots all the way up to the number 1 spot. I don't see that with Zach Wilson. The number 2 spot's his ceiling, but the number 2 is a lot higher than what we anticipated for this kid coming into this draft, especially when you got Justin Fields out there.
Yeah, that's where I'm at with it. Not necessarily that he's going to number 2, because we've started to hear that recently. But if I'm Atlanta, man, if you're trading up to the number 2 spot, I mean, that means you're giving up something, not only your draft pick, but you're also giving up, other picks that you have this year. When you're a team like the Atlanta Falcons, whose defense was a leaking sieve, and you got Matty Ice basically in the last year of his contract, are you just trying to tear it all down right now and just start from scratch now, or are you still trying to make the playoffs this upcoming year? Because if you're still trying to make the playoffs this year, why wouldn't you use the picks that you have to make your team better? Why give up equity to move up unless you think this dude is about to be John Elway or something?
Yeah, and Look, and see, the other thing, too, that I find interesting here is that they have the Falcons moving up to select Wilson from BYU. But his player comp is Mitch Trubisky. And that's what I don't like about that player comp. I mean, Mitch Trubisky,
Cleveland's own Mitch Trubisky.
Mitch Trubisky, that's not a good player comp. I mean, a lot of times when you get a player comp, a lot of times we're saying, oh man, he's not going to live up to that.
Right.
I'm saying, man, I hope he doesn't live up to Trubisky, because if that's the case, then that's a bad trade. I'm with you though. When I saw that Atlanta, I wouldn't be surprised to see a team trade up to have that number 2 pick. But Atlanta is not a team that I look at and say, oh yeah, they desperately need Zach Wilson. I don't think they desperately need anything. Look, things change so quickly in the NFL from one year to the next. I mean, a year ago, the Eagles were one of the top teams in the National Football League, and right now they're a disaster. You could turn things around pretty quickly, very quickly. And if I'm the Falcons, everyone acts like this is the year. This year, this is the draft that we have to get something. If we don't get something this year, we are absolutely screwed moving forward. That's not always the case. I don't think that they desperately need to get a quarterback in this draft. Matt Ryan's still a top 10 quarterback in the league, and you may not agree, but but the bottom line is he throws for a ton of yards. He's top 10 in receiving or in passing yards every year, completion percentage. He can get the job done still. So I'm with you at this point. Why pick a quarterback that you're going to bench for 2 years when you can go get a player that can help you right now? I don't really like this trade or this pick, but it will be.
Yeah, and I mean, if you really want a quarterback, you could probably just stay put, and Fields will probably be right there waiting for you. So I don't get the point of jumping all the way up here.
Teams have jumped off Justin Fields big time. Like this has been a very strange fall from grace, and especially considering the fact that he was considered the number 2 quarterback heading into this past season, and we've talked about it before. I feel horrible. He was the one that was the face of the hashtag We Want to Play movement. Like he wanted that, and I feel like he is the one that is getting. He cost himself more than anyone else by coming back. Him also, as well as the defensive back for Ohio State, literally Sean Wade. Both were very vocal about coming back and playing this year, and they cost themselves a lot. We're live on Facebook, by the way. If you want to jump in on the conversation, reaction to Mel Kiper's latest mock draft, go right on ahead. Daryl McKinney says, what up, fellas? So shout out to McKinney. Appreciate you tuning in and hanging out on a Friday. Dennis says, who does he have the Browns taking? We'll get to that, Dennis. Just be patient. I promise you. We're going to work our way down. So let's go to the number 3 pick. The number 3 pick belongs to the Miami Dolphins. They will not trade out. This was a pick that they received from Houston a season ago. They are going to take, according to Mel Kiper, Devontae Smith, wide receiver out of Alabama. I don't mind that pick. By moving forward with that pick and not taking a quarterback or not trying to combine picks to be able to get a Deshaun Watson, it looks like they are moving forward with Tua Tagovailoa being their quarterback, and they're saying, well, if he's going to be our guy, we just need to make sure that he has the weapons around him to be successful, and he does have that chemistry with Devontae Smith too, so that does make a lot of sense there.
Former teammate and everything like that, pair him up down there in Miami and see what happens. They also got who they got? Preston Parker is his name? No,
Devontae Parker.
No.
Wide receiver.
Yes, Devontae Parker. You're correct. Yes. Yeah, to team him up with him.
He's on my fantasy team. I was like, yeah.
So, yeah, I could see that happening. I mean, shoot, he was the Heisman Trophy winner. Why not team him up with his former teammate from Alabama?
So, in this trade, Mel Kiper had the Falcons trading up to number 2 in this mock draft to move up to get the number 2 pick, and gave up their 3 more picks, all third rounders after that. So, with that, including the first round pick. So with that, the Jets just moved back to 4. So they got a couple more third round picks in Mel Kiper's latest draft to do this. Here's the Jets dropping back and taking Kyle Pitts, the tight end out of Florida. Remember, he's been like on the outside of the top 10 the last couple of draft boards. He's steadily moved up. We did a topic earlier in the week about who's the one player that if you had to put money on is going to be an instant success in the NFL. Who's that player, and which player is going to be a bust? Kyle Pitts was the player that I said I would put money on as being an instant success in the National Football League, the tight end out of Florida. So the Jets trade back from number 2 to get the 4th spot. They will not take a quarterback, but they're going to provide their quarterback in Sam Darnold, according to this mock draft, with Kyle Pitts, the tight end out of Florida. I like that. They're going to have to still provide Sam Darnold with an offensive line and at least 1 or 2 decent receivers to be able to give themselves a shot of being explosive in a winnable division.
I mean, he's breaking down that trade. That trade, in my eyes, it looks like it's working all out for the Jets. For me, that's a great pickup for the Jets. I mean, but I know I'm a little hesitant on drafting the tight end in the top 5. Just, I know that's where the
tight ends are a big deal right now, though. I mean, you look at the Chiefs, you look at the, obviously the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I mean, the Browns obviously put a lot of investment into that. I mean, the Steelers obviously have a tight end who can't catch a football, but is a good tight end, but he couldn't catch a football last year. So, but the tight end, especially the Chiefs, when you see what the relationship and the chemistry in the field between Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, it's no dang surprise at all that teams are investing in the tight end position, especially a playmaking tight end like Pitts is going to be. I think that's why there's so much value put into him right there.
Yeah, you look back at the 19 draft, you had TJ Hockenson from Iowa go 8th to the Lions, and his teammate Noah Fant went to the Broncos at 20. Irv Smith went to the Vikings at 50. So, yeah, I could see that. And those guys are some impact type of players.
All right. On the do we have the NFL draft chime, by the way? Is that easily accessible?
I'll hunt it down.
You'll hunt it down. Well, I know we had it. I had to search for it. You couldn't find it anywhere. ESPN had to provide it for me. And they're like,
really?
Well, we normally don't do this, but we'll provide. I'm like, what? It's a damn chime. YouTube? It wasn't on YouTube. Wasn't on the tube. It's pretty crazy. So, but then ESPN told me, they're like, well, we'll do this, but we don't like doing this. We don't do this often. We like to keep that close to our vest. And I'm like, it's a damn chime. I'm like, I'll make my own chime if I have to. But the NFL draft chime, of course, a lot. We're going to be hearing that little chime a lot here as we head into the draft here in a couple months. But the Cincinnati Bengals are up next at number 5. Penei Sewell, and it is Sewell, by the way. I've been saying Sewell for a while, but it's Sewell. Penei Sewell, the offensive tackle out of Oregon, number 5 to the Cincinnati Bengals. And again, I have no problem with this. I'm always of, and you sent me and you discussed this earlier, talked earlier today about potential show topics to discuss. If you are a GM and you're in charge of a draft, do you go after the team need or do you go after the best talent available? I think that this is kind of, it checks off both.
Right.
The Bengals are fortunate
Checks
here
the boxes
because he's one of the best players that's still available. And on top of that, he is definitely a need. And if you could check off both at the same time with one pick, I think you definitely have to do that. But the Bengals have a lot of holes they have to fill. But if this kid lives up to all the expectations, I mean, being labeled as the next Anthony Munoz, which coincidentally enough, the only Cincinnati Bengals Hall of Famer, I'd say that's pretty good, class to be in. But I like that pick for the Cincinnati Bengals. And I don't think any Bengals fan out there will complain. I will say this, though. If they don't select him and take a Jamar Chase or take a skill player, you won't hear me complain. If they select Penei Sewell, I won't complain either. I don't think the Bengals for the second straight draft are in a position where they can't screw it up.
Yeah.
They can, but I don't think that they will. They couldn't screw up last year's draft. It was easy. It was Joe Burrow. There was no doubt about it. It was Joe Burrow. And then they got T. Higgins in the second round. But the Bengals cannot screw this up. This is a very easy draft for them. You take Penei Sewell or you take Jamar Chase, Pitts if he's there. There's really 3 options that I think all Bengals fans could feel good about because they have so many holes that they need to fill. There we go. With the 5th pick in the upcoming 2021 NFL Draft, the Cincinnati Bengals select Penei Sewell, the offensive tackle out of Oregon, according to Mel Kiper's latest mock draft. Folks, we're live on Facebook. Head to Facebook, search The Justin Kinner Show. Bengals fans, I want to hear from you. This isn't really a big conversation or a controversial conversation about who the Bengals are going to take at number 5. But do you agree that this is a very easy draft? I don't think the Bengals could screw this up. I think if you take Penei Sewell, everyone's happy. I also think that if you take Jamar Chase or a Pitts if he's there, you're also in good shape, mainly because you have money to spend. They have about $40 million to spend this upcoming offseason, and if they go ahead and if they cut some of the players that they're being projected to cut, they could potentially have up to $65 million to spend. So my big thing is no one needs to panic about who they select here as long as it's Jamar Chase or Penei Sewell or Pitts, because they're going to have the money to fill some of the other holes. So I wouldn't panic if they don't select Sewell right here, although I still think that they will.
Well, this is what the Bengals offseason should consist of. The offseason should consist of drafting Penei Sewell and also trading for Orlando Brown Jr. from the Ravens.
I saw that won't happen in division, though. Do you think?
Absolutely. I mean, the inter-divisions trade has happened all the time. McNabb got traded from Philly to the Washington football team before. I think that they're willing. He wants to play left tackle. Left tackles make more money than right tackles. Currently, he's playing right tackle for the Ravens and everything like that. Go ahead, let him play left tackle. Then you draft Sewell, have him play right tackle. I mean, it's basically the same thing. Like we're talking about, like, all right, man, spend money in free agency on offensive line. Well, guess what? He's not a free agent yet. He's not a free agent until next season. so you still can bring him to your team, work out something behind the scenes, say, yeah, we're going to pay you next year and get everything squared away, or give him an extension now and have him play left tackle. You get him, Sewell, you're golden. You're golden, but I hope they don't do it.
There's also
I'm a Bengals fan.
And by the way, I like that option better, but there's also Trent Williams out there that's going to be there's a lot. There's a lot of offensive linemen available in this upcoming free agency. Tooney is another name that everyone is just I know a lot of Bengals fans are clamoring for that here in the Miami Valley. I would be happy with that too. I'm not a Bengals fan, but I definitely I love when local kids stay as local as possible in the NFL. There's something cool about that, especially if the Bengals do take that next step to have a local kid be a part of that next step. I think it just means that much more. By the way, I said we're live on Facebook. Head to Facebook, search the Justin Kinner Show, and jump in on the conversation in the chat section. Robert Miller, by the way, says it's the Bengals, and he said they definitely can screw it up. Look, usually I'm all about bashing the Bengals. I think that they can screw it up. They've screwed it up in the past, and they're still trying to fix some of the drafts that they've screwed up in the past. But I don't think they could screw this one up. I think that there are three really good players that can make an immediate impact for the Bengals: Penei Sewell, Jamar Chase, or Pitts if he's available, the tight end out of Florida that Mel Kiper does already have being selected by the Jets at number 2, or by the Jets at number 4. I'm sorry. We'll see. We'll see how this unfolds. But I do think that being nice here, I don't think the Bengals can screw this up. I really don't. Coming in at number 6, speaking of Jamar Chase, the former teammate of LSU for the Cincinnati Bengals quarterback and Joe Burrow. Jamar Chase, wide receiver from LSU, going to the Philadelphia Eagles, and to give Jalen Hurts a big-time weapon right there at number 6. I find that interesting because there's been so much buzz out there about the Eagles being in position to take a quarterback that they're not sold on Jalen Hurts. If you're not sold on Jalen Hurts, it's either he's your quarterback or he's not. I don't think there's any in between, because if Jalen Hurts, if you select a quarterback right here, you're already telling Jalen Hurts you don't believe he's the guy. You're going to kill his confidence. You already messed with his head last year with everything that was going on between him and Carson Wentz. And now you're going to put him in that same situation again with another quarterback. Let's say it's Justin Fields. I think that the Eagles need to give Jalen Hurts an opportunity here, and I think that they need to get Jamar Chase right here. I think this is a big selection for him, because if Jalen Hurts is the guy, then great, he has a weapon. If Jalen Hurts is not the guy, then you have a weapon that you're going to be able to lure a quarterback to the Eagles the following offseason if it comes to that. So I'm fine with the Eagles not going after a quarterback here. I don't think that they need to. I liked what I saw from Jalen Hurts. I thought anytime you can look impressive without weapons around you, it speaks volumes, and it also gets you questioning, man, if he did that without weapons, what could he do with weapons? Right. Well, Jamar Chase is a definite weapon right there.
Yeah, they drafted Jalen Reagor last year, wide receiver from TCU. He was banged up all season. Their offensive line was banged up all season. So, I mean, the weapons that he had out there weren't even the guys that they had projecting to start. I mean, Deshaun Jackson, they brought him back from where he was at Tampa Bay the last couple of years before he came back to Philadelphia. He was hurt. There was so many guys that were hurt that past season that Wentz couldn't get on track. Jalen Hurts, a rookie quarterback in the NFL, couldn't get on track passing the ball. So they were really like out there running the zone read with him and Miles Sanders, the former running back from Penn State. So getting more weapons around a young quarterback is ideal.
All right, so we have another trade in Mel Kiper's latest mock draft that was just released yesterday. So he has the Eagles taking Jamar Chase. So real quick, one more rundown here. Mel Kiper in his latest mock draft, no surprise here, Jacksonville Jaguars taking Trevor Lawrence, quarterback out of Clemson. He has the Atlanta Falcons moving up to trade with the Jets for the number 2 pick, and he has the Atlanta Falcons selecting Zach Wilson, quarterback from BYU, with the number 2 pick. He has the Dolphins taking Devontae Smith, Heisman-winning wide receiver out of Alabama, with the number 3 pick. Kyle Pitts, tight end out of Florida, going number 4 to the Jets, who traded back with the Falcons, allowing them to get Zach Wilson. The Bengals taking Penei Sewell, the offensive tackle out of Oregon. Jamar Chase, wide receiver, LSU, going to be paired up with Jalen Hurts and the Philadelphia Eagles for 2021. And that brings us to our number 7 pick, where we have another trade, Kev. The San Francisco 49ers will trade up to take the 7th pick from the Detroit Lions. And he has, and this is interesting, Buckeye fans, he has the San Francisco 49ers moving up to select quarterback Justin Fields. And I like this. I really like this, because the future of Jimmy Garoppolo is up in the air. Many people still think he could potentially end up back in New England. And San Francisco wouldn't mind. A lot of money was invested into Garoppolo. So if they can move on from Garoppolo and sign a rookie quarterback and draft a rookie quarterback, a talented one like Justin Fields, and you have a good offensive line, you have a fantastic defense, you have a great offensive-minded head coach, I'm telling you, we went from saying, man, Justin Fields is he being punished and all that. He might be the biggest winner of all the rookie quarterbacks when it's all said and done. If this actually pans out, Justin Fields with the San Francisco 49ers would be fantastic. I would love Justin Fields with the San Francisco 49ers because it's a good organization, good solid coach, great defense. Justin Fields would be instantly set up to have success right off the bat. The Niners would need some weapons to provide him, though.
Yeah, they got a ton of issues at quarterback. I mean, obviously with Jimmy Garoppolo and his contract situation, him being hurt all the time. Then they had Nick Mullins playing. Then they had C.J. Beathard playing. I even believe that Josh Rosen was on their roster for a hot second or two. So that's a great landing spot for Justin Fields, a young quarterback with a heavy run game, outstanding on defense. Obviously, you want to help they get back healthy on defense so it can be outstanding, but like you want to be coached up. And I know the NFL is about stars and big time players, but as we can see with the Cleveland Browns, man, coaching works. Coaching helps. Coaching helps bring out your talent, and when you're not being coached up the right way, you're gonna fail. You're going to fail miserably. So I know everybody wants Justin Fields to go as high as humanly possible, but the best thing for his career would be to fall to a team like the 49ers who have their stuff together. You know what I'm saying? So you look at what's going on in Philadelphia right now. They ran off their Super Bowl head coach. They just hired a coach that looked all nervous as all get out. So these small things that we take for granted in the offseason, and then once the season starts, we start looking at the players like, oh, man, he's messing up. He's a bust. He's this and that. Well, let's make sure we're looking behind the scenes and look at the situations that they're put in and look who they're being coached by. Because, you know, I don't think that Patrick Mahomes would be Patrick Mahomes if he ended up with, I don't know, say
the Dolphins at the time or the Lions.
Yeah,
you're right.
yeah.
I mean,
so being coached up and being put in the right position to win helps a ton, especially from a young quarterback position.
Yeah, and again, I always use the Browns as an example for a lot of stuff lately. But look, that's the Browns blueprint to go from 0-16 to where they were last year. Mock me and make fun of the Browns all you want, but that's a pretty impressive blueprint in the way that they did it. I mean, they literally stripped it down. They did it in a way I'm not a fan of. I hate tanking. I think that that's horrible. I hate the way sports have set it up to reward bad organizations. I mean, they reward you for losing. I hate it, but that's the formula. That's the setup. And they, went 0-16 with Deshaun Kaiser, a second-round quarterback out of Notre Dame that year. And then you get Baker Mayfield, and all of a sudden, the ball starts rolling. You get Nick Chubb, and you get Denzel Ward, and all of a sudden you start, filling in the holes with free agent pieces. And you get that perfect coach. But this is a scenario right here where you just mentioned it. You mentioned the Browns already. The right head coach is the final puzzle piece that you need for everything to click, because you watch Freddie Kitchens just totally destroy the Browns the year before. And I told you heading into this past season, they're going to be instantly better because they have an adult as a head coach. And there was a lot of doubts, and as there should be, because it is the Browns. But it was true. That was the missing denominator right there. Now, they did help the offensive line and added some more defensive pieces. But overall, Kevin Stefanski was the big piece that they desperately needed the year before that they were missing. And I think a lot of teams like that are going to be impacted by that. But the Niners, I would love Justin Fields to end up with the San Francisco 49ers if they move up. Coming up at number 8, we'll round out the top 10 here, and then we'll step away for a few. Coming in at number 8, you have the Carolina Panthers. They have been moving pieces all around because they are really focused on moving in and trying to select and get, work out a trade with the Houston Texans to get Deshaun Watson. The Texans are adamant that they are not going to move him. I still do not. I remember I told you this. I think that the Texans are going to be petty here. I don't think that they're going to move him. I think they know that if they have Deshaun Watson and he plays, they're not a playoff team with Deshaun Watson, and they definitely know they're not a playoff team without Deshaun Watson. So to them, it means nothing to have Deshaun or not have Deshaun at this point. So they'll sit on him if they have to, in my opinion, is where I think this is going, especially with how vocal they've been about, we're not trading him. We're not trading him. The Panthers really want him, but the Panthers have been doing everything, setting themselves up to potentially land Deshaun Watson. And you may be saying, well, they have to the draft to be able to figure it out, because if they select a quarterback, that's who they're moving forward with. I still think whoever they select at number 8 is going to be a part of whatever package that it could potentially take to land Deshaun Watson if it comes to that. Robert Miller on Facebook, if you're listening, this is where you come into play here. Mel Kiper with the number 8 pick, the Carolina Panthers selecting Mac Jones, the quarterback out of Alabama. Remember who their offensive coordinator is too, by the way. I mean, Bengals fans should know. I mean, so the Brady guy. Yeah. I like it. I mean, I don't dislike it. I don't love it. I'm not sold on Mac Jones, but he goes there, and they have a good head coach. They have a good offensive system. They have cap space. They have plenty of opportunity to improve this roster and provide them with weapons. And if they end up not trading, their running back, all of a sudden he has one of the best weapons in all of football to be able to work with like he did at Alabama. So it could work. It doesn't mean they're a playoff team right away, but it could work. Teddy Bridgewater, though, already unfollowing the Panthers on social media, not happy with the direction the Panthers are trying to go in at the moment.
That's the new thing. I unfollow you. That's how it goes.
Nothing else? All right.
None.
So
not a wild situation for me.
The New England Patriots trading into the top 10.
This is a wild situation.
Trading up to the number 9 pick with the trading with the Denver Broncos at number 9 to select quarterback Trey Lance from North Dakota State.
Really?
So we would have had Trevor Lawrence going in the top 10 at number 1. No surprise there. And then you have Zach Wilson going number 2. Who do you have taken at number 2? Sorry, they traded up. Going number 2, you had the Falcons moving up to take Zach Wilson. And then you have, of course, Justin Fields going to the Niners in his top 10. And now you have Mac Jones going in the top 10 as well to the Carolina Panthers. And the Patriots trading up to get into the top 10. He has them doing that to select none other. Well, then what we just talked about, Trey Lance, the quarterback, from a team that not a lot of people really focus on in North Dakota State.
I mean, I don't want to be the guy out here bashing the kid, man. And people didn't heard me talk about him 1,000,001 times about the limited snaps that he's had in college and everything like that. I just can't see that happening. Like, the Patriots have so many holes on that team that they need to fill. I don't necessarily believe that getting a quarterback that's only played like 13 games in college is the right move. Like, you got to get an impact player on defense, somebody better on the offensive line, a wide receiver. I would prefer a defensive player, a la Micah Parsons, somebody on the other side, the safety, a cornerback. Like, I'm so out on picking him that high.
Yeah, again, Trey Lance he's only started for a total of 17 career games in college, all against FCS
That's a lot.
competition.
I didn't know it was 17. I didn't know it. Well, you know what? They have a real playoff at the level that he plays at. So they play like 4 playoff games before they even get to a championship game. So, okay, he's got 17 starts. I give him credit on that. That's more than I thought. I thought he was down in the 13, 14 starts.
That's not even a season and a half.
Yeah, you're right. But it's more than I thought. But I'm still not drafting him that high.
And then you have the Dallas Cowboys at number 10, selecting cornerback out of Alabama, Patrick Surtain. So keep that in mind, and that rounds out your top 10. One more time, Trevor Lawrence going number 1 overall to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Mel Kiper has the Falcons trading up to number 2 with the New York Jets to select Zach Wilson, quarterback out of BYU at number 3. Mel Kiper has the Miami Dolphins selecting wide receiver from Alabama, Heisman-winning wide receiver from Alabama, Devontae Smith and Tua Tagovailoa. How about that? Pair that up along with Devontae Parker, and all of a sudden the Dolphins have quite a scary offense looming right there. And the New York Jets traded back to the number 4 slot where they will select Kyle Pitts, tight end out of Florida. And now all of a sudden you have Sam Darnold, you have Kyle Pitts, and he has a good tight end weapon. Now, the Jets have a lot of work to do, but they figured it out at head coach. You would think get Kyle Pitts at number 4, and you keep Sam Darnold, who's been a quarterback in the league for a couple of years. They might be closer than many are giving them credit for. Cincinnati Bengals selecting Penei Sewell, the offensive tackle out of Oregon at number 5. The Philadelphia Eagles not selecting a quarterback, opting to provide the quarterback they selected last year in Jalen Hurts with the weapon Jamar Chase, wide receiver out of LSU, with the number 6 pick. The number 7 pick will result in a trade. The San Francisco 49ers will trade up to the number 7 pick with the Detroit Lions, where the Niners will select quarterback from Ohio State, Justin Fields. At number 8, the Carolina Panthers will select Mac Jones, quarterback out of Alabama, according to Mel Kiper's latest mock draft. And at number 9, you'll have the Patriots trading into the top 10 with the Denver Broncos, where the Patriots will snag what they hope is their next franchise quarterback in Trey Lance, quarterback out of North Dakota State. That will be very interesting because, of course, right now you don't know if Cam Newton's going to return to New England, and if he does, how effective is he going to be? There's a lot of talk about Jimmy Garoppolo. Well, we just talked about, or Mel Kiper just insinuated that he envisions a situation where the Niners trade into the top 10 to select Justin Fields, which would in essence mean bye-bye Jimmy Garoppolo. If Jimmy Garoppolo moves on for the Niners, the best landing spot for him him would be New England. So then you got to question why the hell would they even trade into the top 10 to select Trey Lance if they end up with Garoppolo. But this is just Mel Kiper's latest mock draft, and reaction is what we are having right now to that. Dallas Cowboys with the number 10 pick selecting Patrick Surtain, cornerback out of Alabama. And that is your top 10 in Mel Kiper's latest mock draft. On the other side, we'll round out picks 11 through 32 on the other side of the break, including your Cleveland Browns, and see what the Pittsburgh Steelers and Baltimore Ravens do in this first round. We have all of that coming up next. More of the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, Mel Kiper's latest mock draft. More of that next.
Listen, stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash right here on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM. ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
This afternoon will be partly cloudy and windy, a high near 46. Tonight's going to be cloudy with rain, a low around 42. And tomorrow will be mostly cloudy, a high near 58. I'm Pete Spivak for 1410 ESPN Radio.
Weather is brought to you by Cullet Propane. 98% of their customers recommend Cullet. If you wouldn't recommend your current supplier, check them out at culletpropane.com.
Does it feel like finding clothes in your fit is impossible? Tired of feeling overwhelmed with options that just aren't right? Let the experts at Stitch Fix do the shopping for you. At Stitch Fix, we make sure each piece is hand-selected for your life. So whether you're staying home or on the go, Stitch Fix has the answer for what to wear. We make it easy to find what works for you. Signing up takes just a few minutes, and styles are delivered directly to your door. Get started today at StitchFix.com. Stitch Fix, your style delivered.
There's nothing better than a fresh-made home-style meal, but not everyone loves the hassle of cooking. At Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken, home-style happens here with our famous 12-piece family meal at a great price. This famous family meal includes 12 mixed pieces of Lee's fresh, never-frozen chicken that is honey-dipped, hand-breaded, and cooked to perfection, plus 3 large sides and 6 fluffy biscuits. Get a home-style meal made easy today with Lee's 12-piece family meal at a great price. Only at Lee's, famous for chicken.
Merrell Guided Investing. Visit merrelledge.com/investing goals. Merrill Lynch, Pierce, Fenner, and Smith Incorporated, both a registered broker-dealer and investment advisor. Member SIPC.
O'Reilly. This is Derek's O'Reilly Auto Parts story.
After the third time jump-starting my car, I finally realized my battery was dying. So I stopped by O'Reilly to have it checked. They tested it right there in the parking lot. It was bad, real bad. But they helped me find the right battery for my car and even installed it for free. Now my car starts like new.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/news. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And now you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Have you ever wanted to learn a new language like French, Spanish, or Russian, but thought it would be too difficult and time-consuming? Then go to Babbel.com and try it for free. Babbel works because it's built around real life. It teaches you everyday practical conversations that you will actually use. In 15 minutes a day, you'll be on your way to speaking a new language in just a few weeks. Babbel uses a modern conversation-based technique that makes language engaging, fun, and memorable. It starts by teaching you words and phrases. Then, sentences gradually get more complex. Soon, you're practicing short conversations about real-life topics. Babbel is created by language experts who use the spaced repetition method to help you learn quickly and remember what you learned. With Babbel, you can speak a new language. Babbel, language for life. Celebrating 10 million subscriptions sold. Now try Babbel for free at Babbel.com. Just go to Babbel.com and start learning a new language today. That's Babbel.com. Babbel.com.
Hello, it's John Kozik, founder and president of TurboTrack Realty, and I buy houses as is, fast for cash. Call me today for an all-cash offer on any of your properties, and we can close within days at 614-362-2000, 362-2000. Do you own a property that's outdated and needs thousands of dollars in repairs? Great, I'll buy it. I'm a private real estate investor who can solve your real estate problems fast for cash. Do you want to sell and just be done with it? Okay, great. I buy vacant properties, boarded up houses, pre-foreclosures, and inherited properties. I also buy apartment buildings, rental portfolios, divorce homes. I even buy my tenant won't pay me the rent houses. I look forward to solving your real estate problems today. Give me a call for an all-cash offer at 614-362-2000, 614-362-2000.
So you walk into your favorite store, go to the razor section, and it hits you. So many options. How do you choose 8-blade, 10-blade, or 50-blade razor that requires 2 hands to operate? Dollar Shave Club, which is now at a store near you, has got your back.
They have a premium 6-blade cartridge designed for daily shavers with short hair and a 4-blade cartridge for less frequent shavers with longer hair. The blades are spaced out a little more for easy rinsing because more blades isn't always better.
Are you still confused? Well, I told you Dollar Shave Clubs got you, and they do. DSC put both cartridges in one new starter box so you can test drive both. You might even like both. You might have to shave your face every day or your head every few days, or maybe once a week you have to shave your shoulders before your girlfriend starts calling you a bear.
For more info, visit dollarshaveclub.com/gojo. Again, that's dollarshaveclub.com/gojo, and check out DSC at your nearest store. You got questions, we got answers. Welcome to the club.
New to the Wendy's 2 for $5 lineup is their classic chicken sandwich. Go grab a 2 for $5 deal and pick 2 faves like a Dave Single, Nugs, and now the classic chicken sandwich 2 for $5. Price and participation may vary. Limited time.
The Reds are on the radio. Reds baseball is finally back. The Cincinnati Reds will kick off spring training play this Sunday afternoon at 3:05 as they take on the Cleveland baseball team. You can catch every Reds spring training game right here on Dayton's home of the Cincinnati Reds, 1410 ESPN Radio. Check out wingam.com for the team's complete spring training schedule. Whether you're at home, at work, or in your car, tune in to ESPN 1410 Wing AM or stream us live at wingam.com.
All right, everybody, we welcome you back. Justin Kinner, Kevin Nash with you live here on Dayton's ESPN radio station. Here in about 20 minutes or so, we will be joined by college basketball analyst Clark Kellogg. Plenty to dive into with him. We'll, of course, talk about the Ohio State Buckeyes. Another tough loss last night, Kev, against Michigan State. I knew that was going to be the case. Tom Izzo has them playing really good basketball. Mm-hmm. It could be too little too late for the Spartans, but they've already been able to string together quite a few impressive wins down the stretch. They still have another opportunity with Illinois coming up around there, with the Iowa coming up around the corner too. Ohio State has Iowa coming up. In fact, so look, I mean, it's going to come down to the conference tournament for Michigan State. But that loss last night, yes, it's a bad one, but it's a good team that they lost to. That's the nature of the Big Ten. Is even when you lose to non-top 25 Big Ten teams, those non-top 25 Big Ten teams are probably conference champions in many other conferences around the country right now. That's how deep the Big Ten is.
Got banged up on the glass again.
No Kyle Young was evident.
Yeah. I think they lost the rebounding advantage. I want to say like 35 to 25. Can't get out rebounded by 10 rebounds, man. You got to make sure you're on the glass and getting those rebounds. Those second chance points killed Ohio State in the Michigan game and in the Michigan State game. Not jumping over the ledge. The Big Ten's a very tough conference. We all know that. It's just, hey, man, this is not going to get any easier because they got another tough team on the way. So, you got to start getting back on the winning circle. You don't want to have too many losses in a row because those losses can pile up quick.
Yeah, well, we're seeing that the weakness for Ohio State is teams with pretty solid bigs. Yeah. Although, the win over Iowa is what made that so impressive is because Luka Garza really did not. He got his numbers. He was able to impact, have an impact for Iowa against Ohio State. It just wasn't enough. But back-to-back games were the bigs of Michigan State and Michigan, and the Dickinson kid had another huge game last night. I mean, he only had about think finished with 12 points. He almost finished with a double-double. But he's just when he's on the floor, he pops on TV. I can't imagine what watching him live is going to look like. I'm going to Indianapolis to watch those tournament games. So one way or another, I can't wait to watch that kid live.
Glad you letting me know.
I hate Michigan, but that kid is something, and Juwan Howard's done a great job. But it's going to be an exciting finish, race to the finish line in the Big Ten and all of college basketball. But again, Clark Kellogg will be joining us coming up here 20 minutes from now. We'll talk Ohio State, Dayton Flyers, Wright State Raiders, and more. That's all coming up here 20 minutes from now. But let's get back to, of course, the NFL draft discussion. Mel Kiper put out his latest mock draft yesterday afternoon, and we got through picks 1 through 10 of just kind of going a little bit deeper into some of those picks. Those are some of the bigger picks for obvious reasons. We'll go a little quicker down the stretch, especially to get to the Browns pick coming up later on in the late 20s. Back to the Facebook reaction, though. We are live on Facebook. Head to Facebook, search The Justin Kinner Show, like and follow along. You can watch the show weekdays from 3 to 6, as well as listen to it live on 1410 Wing AM, and you can stream us at wingam.com. But we like when you watch along on Facebook and interact with us in the chat section. I was asking earlier, I said this, the Cincinnati Bengals, as much as I bash them, I truly believe they can't screw this draft up. I don't think that this, when you say, well, they need an offensive line, they need this, this is a bad football team. All right. They have not won a lot of games over the last couple of years. They have, especially, in the tail stretch of Marvin Lewis. And it's not like they've gotten significantly better or better at all since, Zach Taylor took over. So this team has a lot of holes. So when you look at Jamar Chase and when you look at Kyle Pitts and you look at, Penny Sewell, no matter who the Bengals select at number 5, it is going to address a need. And I think that that's important. But with Penny Sewell, when you talk about best player and in need, he overlaps a lot of those. But so does Jamar Chase. So does Devontae Smith if he's available. So does Kyle Pitts. So they have a lot of needs that they need to address, and they could potentially have up to $65 million in cap space. Will they use it all in this offseason? We don't know, but I expect the Bengals to be pretty aggressive. So I said I don't think they could screw it up. And, of course, right away, Robert Miller says it's the Bengals. They can definitely screw it up. Nick on Facebook says if the Bengals follow up last year and add Tooney and Thornton in free agency, the pick opens completely up, and I think it's Chase from LSU. And I agree, Nick. You add and I'm a big fan of the Bengals going out and spending money on offensive line versus drafting.
Right.
Because Penny Sewell sounds great, sounds awesome, projected to be the next big thing. I like an Anthony Munoz, which you can't go wrong there. Cincinnati Bengals fans, especially the older fans, know just how impactful he was. But you're just assuming every time the Bengals select an offensive lineman in the draft, Bengals fans get excited. And yet here we are 5-6 years later from when the problem initially started, and they're still looking for offensive linemen because the ones in the draft aren't panning out. I would rather them go spend money in, like Nick just said on Facebook, adding Tooney, getting Thornton, whoever else is available out there. That addresses those needs right away because whoever you're going out and getting in free agency, you know what they bring to the table. You can add the skill players. You can get Jamar Chase. You can get Devontae Smith. You can get a lot of those guys in the draft to make an immediate impact. The offensive line, that's a risk. It's a risk every time you select one in the draft because you just don't know how it's going to pan out.
I mean, they have enough money to do both. They can do kind of how the Browns did. They went and spent money in free agency on the offensive line and drafted a rookie to plug in. So the Bengals can afford to do both.
All right. And then where else? Where did this go? Robert Miller said that the Bengals involved in free agency, that is the funniest. Man,
they spent big money in the offseason last year on defense. It wasn't too good, but I mean, they spent it.
I'm trying to be nice today about the Bengals, and when I try to be nice and someone else comes in and takes my spot and starts taking jabs at the Bengals, but I really do. I don't think that the Bengals can screw this up. Justin Nickel on Facebook says, what's going on with Russell Wilson's situation? We'll touch on that coming up here in just a moment. Let's quickly get through this picks 11 through 20 here in Mel Kiper's latest mock draft. The New York Giants at number 11, Mel Kiper has selecting Jalen Waddle, wide receiver out of Alabama. Daniel Jones would have a premier wide receiver, playmaker right there. You had Jalen Waddle already, and you already have the big running back out of Penn State if he could stay healthy. I mean, that's quite the weapon that you would be adding to Daniel Jones, who desperately needs weapons in New York. And the NFC East is a bad division. The Washington football team, they're moving up. They have one of the best defenses in the league, so they're getting closer and closer. The Giants, though, need to step it up, and I think that right now they need a playmaker like this. Jalen Waddle, I think, would make an immediate impact.
Big time playmaker, big time, and the return game as well. You know what I'm saying? He brings that extra element that, some guys don't bring. Some guys are only playing their wide receiver position, lining up in the slot or lining up out wide. Just say, for instance, like, all right, man, he's not getting the playbook down. You know what I'm saying? He's not comfortable out there, running routes and everything like that. He can affect the game on the punt game and the kickoff return game.
Right, on to the next pick at number 12. The Detroit Lions are up at number 12. Keep in mind they traded back with the San Francisco 49ers, according to Mel Kiper, who traded up to the number 7 spot where the Lions were originally slotted to select Justin Fields. The Lions dropped back to the Niners' original spot at number 12. And I like the pick that he has them taking. Remember, they just got rid of, Stafford. They bring in Jared Goff, who I don't think is better than Stafford, but I think he's a serviceable quarterback that can win you games. He's proven it that he could win games when he was with the Rams. Mm-hmm. So Jared Goff, I think, is a solid piece to have. But on the defensive side, they took Jeff Okudah number 2 last season, the best secondary option available in the draft last year, and they have them taking the best linebacker available in the draft this year at number 12, selecting Micah Parsons. The Lions, that's where they can start to make an immediate impact. The Lions could be very similar to the Washington football team, Kev, where they're going to have a lot of holes to fill on offense, but all of a sudden, if they could just tune up a couple things on defense, they can win some games on accident, just like the Washington football team did. And I think that the Lions are a lot closer to being a finished product than Washington is right now, maybe. Although I do like the Washington football team's head coach better off. But I like Micah Parsons. I like Jeff Okudah. And I do like Jared Goff. But they're going to have to make a splash in the offseason. But I think that's a good start with Micah Parsons.
What do they do about their free agent wide receiver, Galladay? Do you think they pay him?
They have the money to. But I see them moving on and bringing a whole bunch of new pieces in and starting over from scratch as far as that goes. But who knows? And, I think you could still get a talented wide receiver in the second round of the draft as well.
Man, I've been hearing so many rumors, and that's what this time of year is, man, about what the New York Jets are going to do. And it's sounding like they're going to keep Sam Darnold and spend money on the wide receiver position. And I'm hearing that the Jets are going to try to go after Juju and Galladay, or Juju and Godwin from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and spend big money on some wide receivers. So looking for a quick flip with the New York Jets.
Got to do what you got to do. At number 13, the Los Angeles Chargers. They got their big quarterback last year in Justin Herbert, to prove to be as good, if not even on par with Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow, of course, goes down, about 11 weeks into the season. And I would have loved to see Burrow stay healthy, to see who was going to edge one another out for the better rookie quarterback season between Justin Herbert and Joe Burrow. It wasn't a guarantee that Burrow was going to finish with numbers better than Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert continued to get better and better each week. He had an offensive line that was just as bad as Joe Burrow's, and that's what the Chargers' main goal is this offseason, is to also address their offensive line, which they do, taking Rashawn Slater, offensive lineman out of Northwestern, with the number 13 pick. At number 14, the Minnesota Vikings are going to select Elijah Vera Tucker, the offensive tackle and guard out of USC. At number 15, the Denver Broncos. Again, remember, they traded. They had the number 9 pick. According to Mel Kiper, he believes the New England Patriots will trade up to number 9, get the Denver Broncos number 9 pick to select Trey Lance. That puts the Denver Broncos back at number 15, where they will select Caleb Farley, the cornerback out of Virginia Tech.
I like that.
The Arizona Cardinals also selecting a defensive back. At number 16, Mel Kiper has the Cardinals selecting J.C. Horn, the cornerback out of South Carolina.
Okay.
That brings us to the Las Vegas Raiders at pick number 17. Mel Kiper has Trayvon Moehrig, the safety out of TCU, heading to the Raiders. The Miami Dolphins have another first-round pick. Mel Kiper has the Dolphins with the number 18 pick, taking Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, the linebacker out of Notre Dame.
Love that pick. Love that pick.
They were solid defensively last year already. That's a huge addition already to what that team is trying to do with taking that next big step. I mean, you're going to get Devontae Smith and Koramoah on the defensive side. I mean, the Dolphins just instantly improve right then and there.
Yeah, man. The linebacker can't pronounce his name. No offense, kid. But he better start hitting what he seeing what he hits, because some of those hits that he was laying down at Notre Dame, he's going to be getting a lot of penalties, a lot of 15-yard penalties and fines in the NFL. Like, he lays the wood, no doubt about it. And, he brings that intimidation factor, but you got to see what you hit, man.
Christian Darrisaw, offensive tackle out of Virginia Tech, is who Mel Kiper has going to the number 19 pick with the Washington football team. So now Washington going to start focusing a little bit more on the offensive side of the ball. They already have a top 5 defense in the National Football League, so now going to fine-tune that offensive line. I could see a scenario where Cam Newton potentially comes in. We know that Washington, of course, signed that quarterback, and I already forgot his name already, who had a big performance against the Buccaneers, and Heineke. They signed him. I think they like what they saw, but I don't think he's deemed as their guy moving forward. I think that he's going to have a chance to compete in camp. Alex Smith is still there as well. But I like this pick. Start focusing on the offensive side. You got Terry McLaurin. You got a good run game. Add to that offensive line. And then all of a sudden, Washington, I believe Washington is one or two good solid picks away from all of a sudden being the favorites in that NFC least division. But I don't think they'll be considered least with how good Washington could potentially be when you have a really good coach in Ron Rivera, a top 5 defense, Terry McLaurin, a good run game. I think if that's a good situation for Cam Newton if he doesn't return to New England. And then at number 20, the Chicago Bears going to take Kadarius Toney, wide receiver out of Florida, another really good wide receiver prospect in this upcoming draft. At number 21, the Indianapolis Colts, Gregory Rousseau, the defensive end out of Miami.
Yeah.
Tennessee Titans will select Jalen Phillips, the defensive end out of Miami as well. How did Miami not win more football games this year?
Rousseau opted out.
There you go. The New York Jets, another pick here. Again, they got this pick from Seattle the year before, but the Kwity Paye, the defensive end out of Michigan. So 3 straight defensive ends taken, and that leads us to your Pittsburgh Steelers at number 24. With the 24th pick in the first round of the upcoming 2021 NFL Draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers select out of Alabama center Landon Dickerson, of course, having to replace Marquise Pouncey, who announced his retirement. So there you go.
Personally, I would rather them go ahead and spend some money, get the former Buckeye Corey Linsley from Green Bay, because they already talked about they're not going to be re-signing him. I would prefer they go get Corey Linsley, but I'll take an Alabama offensive lineman.
Another defensive tackle going in the first round. Jacksonville Jaguars with the 25th pick will select Christian Barmore, defensive tackle out of Alabama. At number 26, again, this has not changed from the very first mock draft that has come out. The Cleveland Browns will select Zaven Collins, the outside linebacker and defensive end out of Tulsa. At number 7, the Baltimore Ravens going wide receiver. Terrace Marshall Jr., wide receiver out of LSU, is where he has the Baltimore Ravens going, just trying to be able to provide some weapons.
The third receiver in that Joe Burrow team.
He had quite a few weapons.
The third dude that went for like 90 a game. Crazy.
Jason Alway, the defensive end out of Penn State, going number 28 to the New Orleans Saints. The Green Bay Packers at number 29 will go defense, of course. Joe Tyron, the outside linebacker defensive end from Washington. The Buffalo Bills, they mixed it up here because they had the Buffalo Bills taking the running back out of Alabama for the last 2 or 3 mock drafts that have come out, but they have them taking Tevin Jenkins, the offensive tackle out of Oklahoma State, really focusing on making sure that they protect their future investment and obviously Josh Allen. The Kansas City Chiefs, runners-up in this most recent Super Bowl, taking Walker Little, offensive tackle out of Stanford, and the Tampa Bay Bucks taking the outside linebacker from Georgia and Azeez Ojulari with the number 32 pick. So there you go. All right, we'll have more reaction to that coming up later on in the show, but we're going to switch gears and we're going to talk a little college basketball on the other side of the break. Coming up here just about 10 minutes from now, Clark Kellogg, college basketball analyst with CBS, is going to be hanging out with us for a bit. Let's go to the Facebook feed real quick, though. Vince Waller says, as much as I would love the Lions to draft Micah Parsons, wide receiver may be a bigger need, especially if they don't re-sign or franchise tag Kenny Galladay, as you talked about, Kev. Marvin Jones is all about gone. Goff needs someone besides Hawkinson to throw to.
You're right. He's right. I mean,
but you gotta pick one. I do believe you have to pick one side of the ball to focus on. You have to one or the other. When you're a bad football team, if you half-ass it and get 1 or 2 pieces on offense and 1 or 2 pieces on defense, you've gone from a bad team to an average team. I believe the Browns had one of the worst defenses in the league last year. They had pass rushers and guys that could force turnovers. But the Browns, the reason they were so dang good last year is their offense made up for their bad defense because they've literally put all their money and all their investment into the offensive side. That's why this year it's all about defense. I think that the Lions need to make that same decision too. Are you just going to load up that defense and be one-dimensional and worry about the offense later, or are you going to turn your focus to the offense and go in that direction? I think that's something to keep an eye on as well. More of the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash next. We'll be joined by Clark Kellogg. We'll talk Buckeyes, Dayton Flyers, Wright State Raiders, March Madness, and more. Clark Kellogg joins us next.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio.
So you think you have unlimited data?
Recalculating.
Think again. If you have unlimited data on a network you can't trust, your data is limited, and so are you. Set your smartphone free with the unlimited plans from Total Wireless. Get 4 lines with unlimited data on the nation's best network now with 5G, with 100 gigabytes at high speed, then 2G for just $25 a month per line.
You have arrived at your destination.
Get unlimited and save. Total Wireless. Do amazing. Available at Total Wireless stores. See totalwireless.com for terms and conditions.
At Charmin, we heard you shouldn't talk about going to the bathroom in public, so we decided to sing about it.
I love my Charmin Super Mega Golden Gold last long, it's TP Gold, yeah. Charmin's got 6 rows in one, lasts forever on my buns. Only Super Mega when I'm cleaning. Charmin's got my booty believing.
Charmin Super Mega Roll is 6 regular rolls in one. Enjoy the go with Charmin.
If you need new roofing, siding, or gutters, skylights, or patio enclosures, if you're a homeowner or business and need someone you can trust, don't take a chance. Enhance with Lance. Lance Roofing and Siding in Fairborn has been satisfying customers since 1993 and hold an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. Lance Roofing and Siding, 8460 Dayton Springfield Road in Fairborn. Call for a free estimate at 864-2722. That's 864-2722 or online at lanceroofing.com.
Tie ball game with the shot clock winding down now. Jones takes the ball to point off the high screen and roll. He puts up the shot at the buzzer, and it's
Timothy's Bar and Grill on Brown Street. Dayton Flyers basketball fans can't make it to the arena this season, but want to experience a safe electric college game day atmosphere? Timothy's Bar and Grill is the spot to support the Flyers all season long. Follow Timothy's Bar and Grill on Facebook and Twitter for select game day specials. Go Flyers.
O'Reilly. Save big during Power Torque Tools DIY Day sale at O'Reilly Auto Parts with great deals on socket sets, impact wrenches, and more. Right now, get $10 off a 200-piece mechanics tool set, plus earn double O-Rewards points. That means you'll get to your next reward even faster. Visit the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts today or shop O'ReillyAuto.com.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Procter & Gamble, the company behind some of your favorite brands like Tide and Charmin and Pampers, is now hiring entry-level technicians at the Dayton Distribution Center. P&G is offering a competitive pay rate of $16.44 per hour for 8 and 12-hour rotating shifts, plus an additional per-hour rotating shift incentive. P&G offers a comprehensive benefit package on day one, including medical, dental, and 401k. For more information, visit pgcareers.com. Search for Dayton and apply today. Procter & Gamble is an equal opportunity employer. The Montgomery County Veterans Service Commission is here to assist veterans during this COVID-19 pandemic. Even though we are not meeting face-to-face, we are here for you. We understand it is a difficult time with this virus threat and the strain of implementing social distancing. For those Montgomery County veterans who have lost their source of income due to their employers having to close or reduce their business hours due to the COVID-19 pandemic, you may be eligible for COVID-19 special financial relief assistance. Please contact the Montgomery County Veterans Service Commission at 937-225-4801 Monday through Friday for more information or to have an application sent to you. You can also visit mcvsc.org. The Montgomery County Veterans Service Commission is here to help Montgomery County veterans during the COVID-19 crisis. Call 937-225-4801 Monday through Friday or visit them online at mcvsc.org.
Germain Honda Beaver Creek is your local Honda dealer. For a limited time, get 0% financing on the 21 Honda Passport, Honda CRV, Honda HRV, and the 21 Pilot. Plus, get $0 due at lease signing on the 2020 CRV, Civic Sedan, and HRV for well-qualified buyers. See me, Sales Manager Jason High, for complete details. We're on Route 35, just east of 675 between Xenia and Beaver Creek. Germain Honda Beaver Creek, the right car, the right price, the right way.
Progressive Motorcycle presents
Road wisdom from the Motor. Half man, half motorcycle.
In life, there's no stopping.
Don't stop.
But if you do, make sure no one is behind you.
All clear.
Progressive Motorcycle also presents basic policy starting at $79 a year. Progressive Motorcycle, for those who were born to ride. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Annual premium for basic liability policy is not available in all states.
Okay, set it down over there and then go to Bay 5.
Indeed knows unexpected growth can stretch your business thin.
We need to keep going to finish.
Like Amir's warehouse. To expand capacity, he needs to get started hiring right away.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. And the moment you sponsor a job on Indeed, you get a short list of quality candidates from our resume database. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get a $75 credit for your first sponsored job post. Terms and conditions apply.
New to the Wendy's 2 for $5 lineup is their classic chicken sandwich. Go grab a 2 for $5 deal and pick 2 faves like a Dave Single Nugs and now the classic chicken sandwich 2 for $5. Price and participation may vary. Limited time.
The Reds are on the radio. Every hit, every strikeout, every Reds victory. You can catch all of the action all season long right here on Dayton's home of the Reds, 1410 ESPN Radio.
DSC. There are so many razors out there. How do you choose which one's right for you? Well, at Dollar Shave Club, we got you. With a 6-blade cartridge for daily shavers with short hair and a 4-blade cartridge for less frequent shavers with longer hair. Still confused? Well, we put both blades in one new starter box, so you can test drive both. Check out dollarshaveclub.com/ESPN, dollarshaveclub.com/ESPN, and visit DSC at your nearest store. You've got questions, we got answers. Welcome to the club.
Now at a store near you.
It's time for some straight talk. Your tax return could look different this year, but you're still going to hear a lot of noise about how to spend it. So when the big carriers tell you to splurge on the latest nonsense, just tune it out. With Straight Talk, you can get a Samsung Galaxy A51 for just $199. Plus, get the $45 unlimited talk, text, and data plan with no contract on America's best networks for up to 50% less. Tune out the nonsense and tune in to Straight Talk. Straight Talk Wireless, no contract, no compromise.
At CDW, we get that even the biggest jobs need to fit on your lap.
It's true. My entire workday happens right here on my lap.
And you can get it done faster with the performance and security of a device configured by CDW and powered by 10th Gen Intel Core V Pro processors.
Nice.
Are you done yet, Mommy?
More time for story time.
An even better use of your lap. IT orchestration by CDW. People who get it. Find out more at cdw.com/IntelBeGreat.
If I'm not commuting anymore, where do I really want to live?
While you handle life's questions, Merrell Guided Investing helps you manage your portfolio and invest for your next move with the option to work with an advisor at a low cost and minimum. Merrell, a Bank of America company. Visit merrilledge.com/investing goals to get started today.
Investing involves risk. Merrill Lynch, Pierce, Fenner & Smith Incorporated, both a registered broker-dealer and investment advisor, member SIPC. Investment products are not FDIC insured or not bank guaranteed and may lose value.
This is Joe Mazzola, Health Commissioner at Franklin County Public Health. The COVID-19 pandemic is impacting us all in new ways. The stress of COVID-19 has resulted in a rise in drug and alcohol use, and drug misuse can happen in your home. 42% of teens who misuse prescription pills get them from their parents' medicine cabinets. Visit don'tliveindenial.org to learn how to dispose of your leftover pills and talk to your kids about opioids.
Roosters would like to thank all of our loyal guests and all the loyal Buckeye fans for your support this year. Because of you, we've been able to stay open and keep our award-winning team employed. Our team members go above and beyond and are dedicated to providing you and your family the safest dining experience possible while still providing a fun, casual atmosphere to relax, laugh, and enjoy our award-winning food. Roosters, the official wing sponsor of Ohio State Athletics.
Merrell Guided Investing. Visit merrilledge.com/investing goals. Merrill Lynch, Pierce, Fenner & Smith Incorporated, both a registered broker-dealer and investment advisor, member SIPC.
WING 1410 Dayton, Dayton's ESPN Radio. It's the Justin Kinner Show, live here on ESPN Dayton, 1410 Wing AM. Tweet the show at 1410 Kinner or give us a call at 457-9464. We now send you to the Wing Studios in Kettering. Here's your host, Justin Kinner.
But joining us now to talk all things college basketball as we hit the home stretch, we have college basketball analyst Clark Kellogg joining us. Clark, welcome in, sir. How are you?
I am good, Justin and Kev. Great to be with you. This is a
different, but still fun time of year with the backdrop of COVID-19. But glad to be able to hang out and talk a little hoops with you guys.
I'm glad you mentioned that because I wanted to open up. You guys do. Let's rewind back to October, November, just the weeks leading into the start to the season. There were so many question marks. So many programs were had suspended play for the time being. For where we are now compared to where you thought we would be back in October, November, where are we right now in regards to where you thought we would be? Are we ahead, behind, about where you thought? Kind of how's the season navigated in your opinion?
Kind of where I thought we might be, Justin, and where I was hoping we would be. Quite honestly, based on being able to learn from the NBA, Major League Baseball, college football, you had a chance to kind of see how those sports unfolded and re-onboarded. At CBS, we started doing golf back in May or June, I think, and then you follow that up with football. So being able to see that it was doable and there were going to be disruptions and pauses and stops and detours, that is all part of the journey in trying to get it done. So I'm really about where I thought and hoped we would be. The fact that we're able to have probably 80% of the scheduled games in the docket, and it looks like we're going to continue at that rate going forward. And then hopefully once we get to the field of 68, we won't have any pauses or setbacks or teams eliminated because of COVID, and be able to run through that 3 weeks to a championship.
We're just around the corner from March Madness and everything like that. They got the bubble happening in Indianapolis. What are your thoughts about NCAA saying there will be no replacement teams once March Madness starts?
Yeah, again, you've got to make some hard decisions based on the information you have and what you think is best for the totality of the tournament. There's a real strong probability, because of the way testing has advanced and continues to advance, teams are required to be 7 negative tests free prior to coming to the controlled environment in Indy. And once they're there, compliance leads me to believe that they have a really strong chance of no teams being affected by the virus in such a way that they would be unable to field the requisite number of players to play. So that's where my confidence and faith is. And quite honestly, it's been remarkable the way the student athletes, the coaches have been under significant additional pressure and stress with all of the disruptions. I mean, everybody, there's not anybody that hasn't been affected. And whatever your world is, you've been affected by COVID. And in the basketball, college basketball world, it's dependent upon it. So it's been hard. It's really been hard, harder than probably any of us really know. I think for student athletes, if I try to put myself back in to when I was playing, that's eons and eons ago, but I would want to play. I know if I was in that situation, I would say, hey, what do we have to do to try to play? And I would be willing to try to sacrifice whatever it took to have a chance to play safely. And that's what these young men and women have done all over the country in a variety of sports. So I just tip my hat to all involved, because it's much more arduous than any of us who aren't doing it on a regular basis could know. And to get to this point with a plan, with a feasible plan, with a real strong probability that we crown a champion on April 5th is all that anybody who loves and follows the game could hope for. And I think we're in pretty good shape to get to that point.
I like that all of the, every conference is going to have a representation in the NCAA tournament, regardless of if their auto qualifier for some of the mid-major conferences, if their auto qualifier ends up not being able to participate because of COVID, that the conference still gets to select who they want to represent their conference with that auto bid. But what do you think about, there's a lot of conference champions that'll be crowned on the day of. You said it's going to be 7 negative tests before you will be eligible to play. How tough is that going to be for that turnaround for a lot of those conferences who will be crowning conference champions on selection Sunday?
Hey, clearly, you have to have seven negative tests before. So even if you crown on selection Sunday, you've taken probably 3 tests before you played that game.
Okay.
So I think you just have to have 7 negative tests prior to the tournament. It doesn't mean after the conference tournaments. I think there has to be 7 consecutive days. Again, I may be wrong, 7 consecutive days, and that would perhaps have to include, because Conference Selection Sunday is the 14th, you got first 4 games on the 18th, and then start the tournament on the 19th. So those teams that are playing on the 14th would be able to do 7 days. So I think it would have to go back to when you've taken your – because most teams, and certainly in the power conferences, I know, are testing pretty much daily. And because the schools know this is part of the before they get to Indianapolis.
We got Clark Kellogg with us here on the Justin Kinder Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio. Clark, right now, all eyes around here, obviously, on the Ohio State Buckeyes, who have just been playing fantastic basketball. I know they're on the verge of back-to-back losses right now. That tough one against Michigan last Sunday, and then last night against Michigan State. But just talk about the job that Chris Holtmann has done since taking over for Thad Matta in the NCAA tournament every year since taking over, and now has them on the verge of a potential 1 seed as we currently sit here today on the verge of March Madness.
Took over on an interim basis initially at Butler, and every year he was the head coach there. They not only got to the tournament, but they won a game in the tournament. So he's been a high-level coach since he's been a head coach. And we were fortunate at Ohio State. That's my alma mater, as you guys well know. So it was a great get by Gene Smith to be able to get Chris Holtmann to leave Butler to take over. And he's phenomenal in every way in terms of how he coaches, how he leads, how he impacts and influences the young men under his care and supervision. So they've been a joy to watch this year. They've had a couple of tough losses, but when you're in a conference as strong as the Big Ten, unless you're Michigan, you might lose 2 in a row. Everybody else hit the skids or had a bump or 2 along the way. Michigan's elite. They are very much, if not on the same street as Baylor and Gonzaga, they're certainly in the same neighborhood in terms of balance, explosiveness, playing both ends of the floor, and looking like they are capable of winning it all. But those guys are maxing it out. Tough one last night. It doesn't get any easier because they got to turn around and face a disappointed and maybe pissed off Hawkeyes team that got drummed a little bit in Ann Arbor.
Yeah, we're starting to see some of those traditional powers that were on the bubble starting to round into form, like Duke and Michigan State. So a year that we thought we might not see Michigan State and Duke in the tournament, they're on a nice winning streak, and teams better start watching out for them.
No, I agree with you, Kev. Still some work to do, so in the case of Michigan State, but they'll have ample opportunities. They see Maryland, they see Michigan twice. They've got Indiana. They've got teams that are right on the cusp, if not part of the tournament field when you project brackets. So they'll have a chance. And there's nothing like wins. That is really the tonic for being able to be part of the field. If you get enough wins, in most cases, you'll be part of the field of 68. That's ultimately what it comes down to. Now, when you don't have enough wins, then you bring other factors into play. Who else is winning? What does your resume look like compared to others? But if you string together enough quality wins, then you're in. And that's what Michigan State and Duke are now trying to do. Even though they started slow, they're making a rush. If they could put together another handful of wins or thereabout, then they're locked into the field.
What did you think about the Jalen Jackson situation at Duke?
Jalen Johnson, yeah, you know what?
Johnson, I'm sorry.
It's a really personal call, Kev. I'm not close enough to Duke or to that young man to know, but basically he made a choice, an individual choice. You could question the timing because it isn't a team game. It's not golf. It's not tennis. It's a team game, basketball. So the timing of it certainly would raise some questions, but ultimately every individual has the prerogative to make his or her choices as they deem fit and then own and deal with the fallout or consequences of your choices. It's much like when kids decide to leave school early, even though it might not look like the best thing for them to do. Mm-hmm. If you're 18, 19 years old and you decide, hey, I want to cast my bread on that water, I'm all for that. Try to get as much information as you can, but then you have to own the consequences of it. And however it plays out, you've just got to be able to handle that. So I don't have any major issues with what he did. The timing would be the only thing. But even that, clearly it might have been the right and best time for him to do what he did. We'll find out as time goes on, but I didn't have any real weigh in on it because I don't think it's necessarily my place to weigh in on what's an individual decision for a young man who's thinking about what's next for him.
Clark, earlier you mentioned how, the virus, everyone, whether it's sports related or not, has been impacted by it. But if you rewind about this time last year, the Dayton Flyers are wrapping up what was a magical regular season. I mean, number 3 in the country, a future NBA lottery pick with Obi Toppin, National Player of the Year, National Coach of the Year with Anthony Grant. I mean, it was just a magical run last year, and it was devastating to see the rug be pulled out from not just underneath the players in the program, but the fan base itself. And again, I know everyone experienced it, but that was such a tragic way to end what was such a magical season. You fast forward to this year, and they just haven't been able to come close to capturing the magic that they were able to develop last year. And of course, you don't have Obi, you don't have Ryan Mikesell, no Trey Landers. This team is well coached. Anthony Grant has done a fantastic job since coming over and taking over since Archie Miller left for Indiana. But just your overall takeaway of the Dayton Flyers and the unfortunate finish to last season and the job that Anthony Grant has done with this group during what some and many are labeling a transition year.
Oh, no question. I'm one of the great guys in the business. I mean, I have great admiration and respect for who he is and how he does the job. And I think Dayton feels that way. The community, the supporters of the Dayton Flyers. I mean, it's one of the great basketball programs in the country and has been for a long time. And Anthony Grant is platinum level in my mind. This is a year of transition. And you're right. Last year, terribly unfortunate for a lot of teams. But when you have a special team and a special player like Obi Toppin, it really hits you pretty good. It's a gut shot. But life gives you gut shots in various forms and fashions, and this was just one that was beyond anybody's forecasting or control. And you try to move on and grab hold of the memories. I don't like to live in what coulda, woulda, or shoulda. That's no place to park. You can visit there, but you can't park there. You've got to move on. Life is for the present. And so this team in transition, good young talent, the disruption and chaos and uncertainty of COVID practice and play. I mean, there's just so much that can impact the young team's development. And in spite of that, there's reason for great optimism going forward because of who's leading the program and the kind of play and young men that those sideways moves or detours on the road to moving forward, going forward. So again, a blip on a speed bump, if you will, and not all bad because I've seen this team grow even despite some of the inconsistency.
Another team here in Dayton, the Wright State Raiders out of the Horizon League. I believe the Horizon is the first conference to start their conference tournament, if I'm not mistaken. But them and Cleveland, Dennis Gates did a fantastic job with Cleveland State. I know Wright State did they were high up in the Ken Palm, the net rankings, everything, but Cleveland State was right there swing for swing with them. Those are the two favorites right now, the two co-champions, right? 1 and 2 seeds. But Wright State, they're cruising. They've done, since Coach Nagy's taken over, this program has taken a step to that next level that, where they always thought they should be. Your thoughts on Loud and Love, the Wright State Raiders, and Coach Nagy heading into this conference tournament?
Well, Loud and Love, when I watched them recently, I watched a couple of games. I watched the first meeting against Cleveland State that they let get away, and then I watched the game against Milwaukee. And the first thing I noticed, Love's body is so much leaner. He looks to me like he's more fluid. He's leaner. He's still as strong as he's always been. Anytime you've got a guy averaging a double-double, you can, in college basketball, you can count those guys on maybe 2 hands and 2 feet that are averaging a double-double. And that's a big deal to be able to consistently put up those numbers. And he's got good playmakers and shot makers around him. And they're young. They've got a core group of sophomores. Basili is a nice-looking prospect. Hall and Calvin, those guys can make shots and make plays. Finke is a fun guy to watch. They've got a really solid team. And Coach Nagy he was terrific at his prior stop. And has his teams always, they're entertaining, they're efficient offensively. Teams in that next tier of Division I teams. And I've enjoyed seeing what I've seen of them thus far.
You touched on it with Coach Nagy, the success that he had at his previous stop, of course. I mean, multiple NCAA appearances at South Dakota State, and now here it's already taken them to the NCAA tournament, back-to-back NIT bids as well, and looks like they're in good position to potentially get back to the NCAA tournament. He would be the first coach in this program's history to get the team to the tournament more than once. But with that being said, with that success at these smaller mid-major programs, of course, that always brings about the conversation of the bigger programs coming to pluck the bigger coaches from down at the mid-major level. If Coach Nagy gets this team back to the NCAA tournament, you would have to think that chatter is going to start. Why have we not heard more of Coach Nagy's name be brought up for some of these bigger jobs with all the success that he has had at every stop along the way?
That's always a personal call, Justin. I tend to stay away from the coaching carousel projections because it's outside of my bandwidth. I mean, I know the game. I know coaches. I know that's only a question he can answer. But I do know this. He's a high character, great man of integrity and faith, and he's a terrific basketball coach. And when you win and have those qualities that are part of who you are, then it wouldn't surprise me if people are looking for a coach that his name would surface. And then it becomes a matter of what he desires to do going forward. But I stay away from the speculation. That's for talk radio and guys like you to kind of figure out
Yes.
where would be a good fit. Where would be a good fit for somebody who's already got a good job. So I tend to stay clear of that personally.
That's right. We make people angry, and you don't, because we
radio is about stirring up the pot. You got to create some energy. I mean, that's a different element than what I get. Some enjoyment for the viewers. You guys are trying to.
All right. Clark Kellogg, good enough to hang out with us here. Clark, thank you for being patient. I know the video is lagging at times. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. March Madness, we're on the cusp of it, and we can't take anything for granted. A year ago, we thought the same thing. It was taken from us. So we're grateful for every time a game tips, and we're really going to be grateful for this tournament coming up here. And we appreciate all the work you do as well.
Thank you, man. Amen. Amen to that for sure, man. It's exciting to be talking about it, and hopefully we'll get to the finish line this year, because missing it last year was a major void for a lot of us.
All right, Kev, closing thoughts?
Go Wright State Raiders. Nagy staying at Wright State forever. I'm an alum.
I hear that.
Thanks, Clark. We appreciate it.
Yeah. All right, Justin, Kev. Take care, guys. All right.
Listen, stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, right here on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM. ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
This afternoon will be partly cloudy and windy, a high near 46. Tonight's going to be cloudy with rain, a low around 42. And tomorrow will be mostly cloudy, a high near 58. I'm Pete Spivak for 1410 ESPN Radio.
There's nothing better than a fresh-made home-style meal, but not everyone loves the hassle of cooking. At Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken, home-style happens here with our famous 12-piece family meal at a great price. This famous family meal includes 12 mixed pieces of Lee's fresh, never-frozen chicken that is honey-dipped, hand-breaded, and cooked to perfection, plus 3 large sides and 6 fluffy biscuits. Get a home-style meal made easy today with Lee's 12-piece family meal at a great price. Only at Lee's, famous for chicken.
Switch to T-Mobile for Business and get up to 90 days of service free via virtual rebate on your business plan. You get a great deal, the largest 5G network, and first-class benefits like Microsoft 365 on us. It's better for business and only with T-Mobile for Business. Limited time offer. Stop in-store for details. Plus taxes and fees for some plans. Virtual Express MasterCard within 8 weeks of receipt of valid submission. Complete port within 60 days. See T-Mobile.com for 5G devices, coverage, and plan details.
O'Reilly. Trust the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts to recommend the best products for your car, like 5 quarts of O'Reilly full synthetic motor oil and a MicroGuard filter, just $26.99. Extend the life of your vehicle and improve performance with a synthetic oil change. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts today or visit O'ReillyAuto.com.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
If you need new roofing, siding, or gutters, skylights, or patio enclosures, if you're a homeowner or business and need someone you can trust, don't take a chance. Enhance with Lance. Lance Roofing and Siding in Fairborn has been satisfying customers since 1993 and hold an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. Lance Roofing and Siding, 8460 Dayton Springfield Road in Fairborn. Call for a free estimate at 864-2722. That's 864-2722 or online at lanceroofing.com.
The Paranzino brothers hold monthly online building material and home improvement auctions featuring quality home improvement products. Go to pbauctions.com for all the details and bid on name brand home improvement products, including flooring, kitchen, doors, decking, barn siding, trim, plumbing, lighting, tools, and so much more. All to be sold online. Visit pbauctions.com for preview times and bidding details on the next monthly auction near you. And we'll see you online at the Paranzino Brothers Auction.
I'm Terry Krupp of Laird's Tax and Accounting, serving this area's tax and accounting needs for over 80 years. Tax season is here. We invite you to discover how we can make your tax filing experience easier. Our professional staff assures your return is accurate with maximum use of legitimate deductions. Since our founding, we have been trusted because of our knowledge of the tax code and for standing behind your return if the IRS calls. Contact us at 937-325-6571. Information at lairdstax.com.
Listen to this radio station on the radio.com app. Discover and enjoy your favorite music, news, and talk radio from live stations across the country. Listen anywhere on all mobile and home devices with the radio.com app.
Switch to T-Mobile for Business and get up to 90 days of service free via virtual rebate on your business plan. You get a great deal, the largest 5G network, and first-class benefits like Microsoft 365 on us. It's better for business and only with T-Mobile for Business. Limited time offer. Stop in store for details. Plus taxes and fees for some plans. Virtual Express MasterCard within 8 weeks of receipt of valid submission. Complete port within 60 days. See T-Mobile.com for 5G devices, coverage, and plan details.
Liberty Mutual Insurance Company customizes your car insurance with Wright Track, which rewards you for safe driving.
As the world's most careful driver, that's perfect. Now applying 2 pounds of force for acceleration. You really turning in 0.3 miles and begin a deceleration.
With Liberty Mutual's Wright Track, you could earn up to 30% savings based on how you drive. Sign up at libertymutual.com/Wright Track.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Discount on participating vehicles. Base coverages only. Availability varies.
Merrell Guided Investing. Visit merrilledge.com/investing goals. Merrill Lynch, Pierce, Fenner, and Smith Incorporated, both a registered broker-dealer and investment advisor. Member SIPC.
Attention men under the age of 35. You know what really impresses the ladies? When a guy has a few drinks and later gets pulled over for buzzed driving. That could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. There goes let's grab dinner and a movie. Oh, I know. You drive more carefully when you're buzzed. You've proven that hundreds of times. A woman admires that kind of confidence. And you've practiced how to speak if a cop does pull you over. Slowly, clearly, and politely, like, good evening, officer. A woman admires that kind of foresight. And what woman doesn't find it adorable that you call it buzzed even though the law calls it drunk? You can kiss $10,000 goodbye, along with any chance of having a girlfriend. Because nothing says I'm a catch more than a guy who lives in his parents' basement and calls it my place.
Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Reds baseball is finally back. Don't miss the Redlegs' first spring training game of the season this Sunday afternoon at 3:05, right here on Dayton's home of the Reds, 1410 ESPN Radio. All sports, all the time. This is 1410 ESPN Radio.
Good stuff there from Clark Kellogg. We appreciate him taking time and hanging out with us here today on the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. Happy Friday, everybody. Getting set for the weekend. A lot going on as we head into the weekend as we are getting closer and closer to March Madness. Selection Sunday just around the corner. And again, you're going to start to see a lot more championship weekends, conference championships start to be determined here over the next couple of weeks. I know for Wright State, their conference, the Horizon League, their conference tournament is underway. Did you see Detroit last night, by the way? Antoine Davis, son of Mike Davis, who used to be Indiana's coach when he took him to the Final Four. But Antoine Davis goes off for 46 points last night.
Got busy.
got
went
busy.
I mean, he's been a special talent. I mean, I told the story a while back, but he was originally committed to go to Houston and play for Ralph Sampson. And then Sampson knew when Mike Davis took the Detroit job, you had Antoine, who did not want to go to his coach and say, "Hey, I don't want to play here. I want to go play for my dad at Detroit." But he never went to Sampson to bring that up. So he just let it go. Well, word got to Coach Sampson that was the case, that he wanted to leave to go play for his dad. And one of my favorite stories is that Coach Sampson initiated the meeting with Antoine to say, "Hey, call your dad, tell him you're going to go play at Detroit. We will approve the waiver. We will not stand in your way. You won't have to sit out or anything like that." So I thought that was really cool in a day and age where coaches are constantly trying to block kids from transferring and leaving. Sampson knew how important it was for him to go play for his dad. And Detroit's finally starting to get on a little bit of a rhythm. They finished with double-digit wins at the conference. It's been a team that's been down the last couple of years. They nearly beat Michigan State earlier in the year, which at the time seemed great. Then Michigan State started playing really bad. Then it didn't seem as impressive. But right now with Michigan State and them playing both real good basketball, it's a pretty good basketball team and a dangerous one in that conference as well.
For sure, man. That's a cool story, man. We always hear about the stories about, coaches doing players wrong and everything like that. So it's good to hear the other side of the coin for a change.
With that being said, Wright State will play Milwaukee on Tuesday night at 7:00 with the chance to get to the semifinals, which will be in Indianapolis at Indiana Farmers Coliseum. Semifinals and finals. So we'll find out next week if Wright State punches their ticket to the NCAA tournament, as they are a 2 seed, although co-conference champions, splitting with Dennis Gates' Cleveland State team, who again had, by the way, Torrey Patton, Trotwood Rams player. He was named to the first team in that conference as well. Nice. So shout out to him. But no, interesting conversation there with Clark Kellogg in regards to, you have to have 7 negative tests to be able to play in the NCAA tournament. And the bracket, of course, when we talk about Selection Sunday, March 7th? Is March 7th Selection Sunday or the 14th?
7th. No, 14th. You're right.
So March 14th is Selection Sunday. And you have to have 7 negative tests before the bracket is revealed. Every team that they have in the NCAA tournament, they would have had to check with them to make sure that they've had 7 straight negative tests for everyone under the team umbrella. And if that's the case, then they'll be eligible to move forward. Now, if they move forward and the bracket comes out on the 14th, and let's say on Monday a player tests positive, that team is officially out. They do not reseed. They will not redo the bracket.
Right.
There will be a chance, but once the bracket starts, there is no backup teams, or there's no backup, situations where teams will come in. There are backup teams for before the committee puts out the Selection Sunday bracket.
One more time.
So the bracket comes out on the 14th.
Right.
So all the teams have to have 7 negative tests before that bracket officially comes out.
Okay.
So if they pick, let's say Wright State gets the auto bid and wins the Horizon League.
Okay.
And they're in, let's say they're a 14 seed, and they end up having a player test positive. They're out. Now, if this is before the bracket comes out, then the league will get to announce who they want to replace Wright State with. Now, if the bracket comes out on Selection Sunday, watch parties, woohoo, Wright State's in the NCAA tournament, super sweet, awesome. And then on the Monday after Selection Sunday, a player test positive. Wright State is just officially knocked out. They will not be replaced. It's just that whoever, what is it, the 2 seed or whatever, the 2 seed just automatically advances to the next round. So that's how this is going to be handled at that point. Now, how it'll be handled before Selection Sunday, let's say Wright State gets, let's use a team like St. Louis. Let's say St. Louis, they hadn't stumbled along the A10 trail, and that they were an at-large team. They're an at-large. Let's say that they get a 12 seed, and they end up testing positive the day before Selection Sunday. Now they could be replaced with any of the first 4 out teams, which right now is currently Minnesota, Stanford, Richmond, and Michigan State. And then they would rank the first four out teams from number 1 to number 4, and that would be the order of the backup teams listed. So the first 4 out becomes intriguing.
Yeah.
The first 4 in, the next 4 or whatever you would call them, that's always interesting with the first 4. But the first 4 out, those all of a sudden carry a lot of weight as far as importance is concerned to fill the void for some of those teams who could potentially miss the tournament. But that's why I asked Clark when we said 7, I'm like, there's going to be like the A10 tournament, the A10 champion will be crowned at UD Arena on Selection Sunday.
Right.
So I don't get it. So apparently you just need 7 negative tests before you get granted access.
Okay.
Very strange.
Yeah, it sounds like Joe Lunardi has his work cut out for him.
Well, he don't actually make the bracket.
Yeah,
he
true that.
He don't. He doesn't do that right now. And again, his latest bracketology report has Gonzaga, Baylor, Michigan, and Ohio State at number 1. I'd have to think Ohio State's probably going to get the bump to number 2 with back-to-back losses. They have an important one coming up here around the corner. I think they're at Illinois coming up around the corner to close out. So they have a tough stretch too.
And they're missing a player. Dude got like a fractured chin or something
in Illinois.
Yeah,
interesting. So, but your 2 seeds on these brackets, West Virginia could potentially move into a number 1. Illinois is who I envision moving into the number 1 if Ohio State kind of bounces out. Illinois is currently a number 2 seed, and then you look at the 2 seeds in the bottom. You have Villanova and Alabama. So either way, Ohio State's a 1 or a 2 seed at this point. Michigan, I think, solidified themselves as the overall or as a 1 seed for sure. Yeah. Overall number 1 seed. I still think they're the best team in the country. Gonzaga looks good. Baylor looks pretty good too. To me, Michigan is the most complete team. And they have depth. They have shooters. They have guys that could beat you in isolation. They could take the ball to the hole. They have size. They have literally everything. And I think that they've proven it against better competition. Gonzaga. I know I'm going to that weak argument of they don't play anybody. No, the only reason it seems like they don't play anybody is because they're so much ahead of everybody in that conference. They're really good. They deserve to be a 1 seed. But if I had to put money on either Gonzaga or Michigan to win it all, I'm definitely picking that team up north when it comes to that. I think they're a better overall team, and they've gone up against better overall competition from the start.
Yep, just reinforcing my statement about them being a basketball school.
All right, it's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio, 457-9464. That's the number to call in and join in on the conversation. Again, Selection Sunday just a few weeks away. When we come back to the show on Monday, keep in mind, it'll already be March. Actually, we're off on Monday. No show on Monday because it's Red Spring Training Baseball, so keep that in mind. Yes, Red Spring Training Baseball kicks off this Sunday. First spring training game of the season. They'll be taking on the Cleveland baseball team. 3:05 the first pitch, 2:50 the pregame. And then starting from here on out, we're going to have a baseball on pretty much every single day here on 1410 Wing AM all the way through hopefully into October. Hopefully the Reds are playing in the playoffs again. But a lot of baseball coming your way, and it starts this Sunday, Red Spring Training action, the first of the season. We'll step away for a few moments. We still got a lot that we need to dive into. We have an update on the NBA dunk contest, and there's a certain individual we've been waiting to find out if he's going to participate in it. No, I'm not talking about Zion Williams, although we don't know about him, but Obi Toppin. Obi Toppin is going to be participating in the NBA dunk contest coming up on March 7th. By the way, that date, that's why I was thrown up. March 7th is the NBA All-Star game, which is, just over a week away.
Crazy.
So we'll get into that as well as kind of break down what's going on when it comes to Deshaun Watson, of course, wants out of Houston, but Russell Wilson wants to stay in Seattle, or does he? We'll compare the situations between both star quarterbacks with their respective teams. Fallout's on the way, potentially, between Wilson and the Seahawks. We'll discuss all that next.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Tie ball game with the shot clock winding down now. Jones takes the ball at the point, off the high screen and roll. He puts up the shot at the buzzer, and it's
Timothy's Bar and Grill on Brown Street. Dayton Flyers basketball fans can't make it to the arena this season, but want to experience a safe electric college game day atmosphere? Timothy's Bar and Grill is the spot to support the Flyers all season long. Follow Timothy's Bar and Grill on Facebook and Twitter for select game day specials. Go Flyers!
Thinking about life insurance? Did you know in just a few minutes you can find the best price from up to 10 price competitive companies for free? You can with SelectQuote. For example, George is 39. He was getting sky-high quotes from other companies because he takes meds to control his blood pressure. But when I shopped around, I found him a 10-year, $500,000 policy for under $22 a month. I'm SelectQuote agent Dan Savino, and believe me, if SelectQuote isn't shopping for your life insurance, you're probably paying too much.
For your free quote, call 800-461-4545. That's 800-461-4545. 800-461-4545. Or go to SelectQuote.com. Since 1985, we shop, you save.
Get full details on the example policy at SelectQuote.com/commercials. Or price could vary depending on your health, issuing company, and other factors. Not available in all states.
Have you ever wanted to learn a new language like French, Spanish, or Russian, but thought it would be too difficult and time-consuming? Then try Babbel. Text TRY to 64,000 and try it for free. Babbel works because it's built around real life. It teaches you everyday practical conversations that you will actually use. In 15 minutes a day, you'll be on your way to speaking a new language in just a few weeks. Babbel uses a modern conversation-based technique that makes language engaging, fun, and memorable. It starts by teaching you words and phrases. Then, sentences gradually get more complex. Soon, you're practicing short conversations about real-life topics. Babbel is created by language experts who use the spaced repetition method to help you learn quickly and remember what you learned. With Babbel, you can speak a new language. Babbel, language for life. Celebrating 10 million subscriptions sold. Now try Babbel for free. Just text TRY to 64,000 to start learning a new language today. That's TRY to 64,000. TRY to 64,000.
Trust the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts to recommend the best products for your car, like 5 quarts of O'Reilly full synthetic motor oil and a MicroGuard filter, just $26.99. Extend the life of your vehicle and improve performance with a synthetic oil change. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts today or visit O'ReillyAuto.com.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Hi, this is Eddie Sorrell, Body Shop Manager at Germain Honda of Beaver Creek. When you need a dependable body shop, we're here to help, repairing all makes and models. Our technicians have over 125 years experience. That means we can repair your vehicle quickly and efficiently. Our department is state-of-the-art with new equipment to get you back on the road quickly. We offer loaner cars during service and free estimates. Germain Honda of Beaver Creek, Route 35, just east of 675 between Xenia and Beaver Creek.
Merrell Guided Investing. Visit MerrillEdge.com/investing goals. Merrill Lynch, Pierce, Fenner, and Smith Incorporated, both a registered broker-dealer and investment advisor. Member SIPC.
There are many ways to catch the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio, weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. You can catch it live right here on 1410 Wing AM, or you can stream the show at wingam.com. But now we have another way that you can take in the show. You can now watch the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash live on ESPN Dayton's Facebook page. Listen, stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio. College football playoffs, Browns, Bengals, Buckeyes, and more. Catch the Keith Fire Show Mondays at noon on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Subscribe and download the Justin Kinner Show podcast in your Apple iTunes, Google Play Store. You'll have access to the show and shows in their entirety, as well as select segments and all interviews, including the one we just did with Clark Kellogg just about 40 minutes ago. That will be available in your Google Play Store, Apple iTunes Store. Subscribe and download, again, the Justin Kinner Show in your Apple iTunes and Google Play Store, and take us with you anywhere you go. Listen, stream, and watch. We're live every day from 3 to 6. You can listen live at 1410 Wing AM. You can stream us live at wingam.com and watch us live every day on Facebook. Head to the Facebook page, or head to Facebook. Everyone has Facebook. Head to Facebook, search the Justin Kinner Show, and like and follow along every day. You'll have opportunities to interact with the show live in the chat section, as well as have an opportunity to win some prizes, which we do have for you coming up here at the top of the hour. If you like Skyline Chili, you need to be hanging out with us here till about 5 o'clock coming up here around the corner. 20 minutes from now, I'll tell you how you could potentially win a $25 Skyline Chili gift card, and all you have to do is tune into the Justin Kinner Show here on Facebook and like and follow along. So I'll have more information for you coming up here 20 minutes from now. Again, if you like Skyline, be sticking around and hanging around, as we'll have information on how you can win a $25 Skyline Chili gift card. Head to Facebook and search the Justin Kinner Show. Also coming up at 5 o'clock, we'll get into another list that ESPN put out. Got to love these lists. But when you think about all the great college football quarterbacks that we've seen over the last 2 decades, from the 2000s and 2010s, ESPN put out a list of the top 60 quarterbacks of the 2000s. And right away, it led to the result, triggered a lot of people for obvious reasons, because the number one quarterback in the top 60 quarterbacks list of the 2000s to now, Baker Mayfield, listed as the number one quarterback. And right away, everyone lost their minds. And you could tell who are Brown fans and who are not just based on the reaction there because, well, a lot of venom spewed across social media with that. But we'll get into that coming up at the top of the hour. Facebook reactions. Keith Tolliver says, love baseball, but spring training baseball on radio or TV is trash. Keith Tolliver, that is so disrespectful. First of all, look, to you, it may not be anything to listen to or watch, and I'm not doing a sales pitch here to get you to listen to our radio station, which you can by listening to every spring training game right here on Dayton's home of the Cincinnati Reds, 1410 ESPN Radio. It's a must-win spring training game on Sunday. Do not listen to Keith Tolliver. He knows absolutely nothing about anything in life. Now, Keith, that's fine that you don't find spring training baseball TV, the games on TV, that interesting. For a long time, if you're not a fan of a particular team, I can understand why tuning into a spring training game could be a little difficult because you probably won't recognize a lot of the names on there. If you are a diehard Reds fan and you follow along to the players who are in all of their prospects, it is very interesting to me. I'm not tuning in to find out if the Reds win. I'm not tuning in to watch that type of thing. I'm just really curious. I like getting a good glimpse of a Hunter Green or of Lodolo, guys like that who we're going to be seeing here. Even Tyler Stevenson, who I feel like has been a prospect in the Reds system forever. He made his debut with the Reds last year, had a home run in his first at bat. How about that? But look, the bottom line is there's an opportunity to see and hear a lot of opportunities for some of the top Reds prospects out there. Plus, I want to see just how good this team is going to be offensively. And I know that the games may not mean anything from a competition win-loss standpoint, but I want to see, is Moustakas and Castellanos going to return to form? Are they going to return to what they were with their previous teams before signing a free agent deal with the Cincinnati Reds? There is a lot that I'm going to be looking for at these and listening for during these spring training games coming up. But I get it. We tune into games to watch a team win or lose. Like, that's what drives us. But baseball, when you're a fan of a baseball team, it's a little bit different because for spring training, you're not watching from a win-loss standpoint. You're tuning in and to find and to witness the progression of players from one season to the next. And I think that's important, especially when you're a team like the Reds, who always seems to be hitting the reset button. I'm kind of curious who they have in the pipeline.
Yeah, you got to watch these games if you're a true fan of the team, because even though I can't stand preseason NFL games, I'll always end up checking them out. They replay all of them on the NFL Network. So I may not be tuning in like the night that they're on or anything like that. But like if I run past it, I'll stick around for a quarter or two, see who's blocking, who's tackling, how the rookies that we drafted are looking out there. I know it really doesn't mean everything like you said with wins and losses, but ultimately these are the guys that are going to be playing for your team eventually, especially in baseball. You always want to keep an eye on the guys that are on the come up. And, a lot of these guys, like it or not, sometimes they are trade bait. They may be suiting up for the Reds organization in spring training, but they may be playing major league for somebody else. So you want to say, like, when they are making a trade for another guy and they're using that guy that you see in spring training and everything like that, you can actually form an opinion on that guy. But, man, hold on. He looked good in spring training. He might have a lively arm for us, man. Don't get rid of him yet. Man, yeah, he looked trash in spring training. Get rid of him. Let's cash him out if they're willing to do it. So, what I'm saying? It just informs your opinion more.
2 years ago, when the Cincinnati Reds did the sign and trade for oh man, I just literally spaced. So they have Luis Castillo, they had Trevor Bauer, and they had Sonny Gray. Holy smokes, I just had a weird moment where I literally lost what I was going to say before I was going to say it. But 2 years ago when the Reds did the sign and trade with the Yankees to get Sonny Gray, I remember that year the big discussion is, man, who is going to be the Reds opening day starter? And everyone right away, well, it needs to be Sonny Gray. It needs to be Sonny Gray because at that time, Luis Castillo did not have a good spring training. Mm-hmm. He was getting rocked. He was giving up a lot of home runs. He did not look good in spring training. And then David Bell came out and announced that Luis Castillo was going to be the opening day starter. And I remember saying, well, what the hell, man? Like, he doesn't look good. If he's giving up bombs in spring training against a bunch of no names, imagine what he's going to do when he's going up against a good. And then he went on to have his breakout season and had his best season ever. So although you're going to get fooled a lot in spring training. You're going to have guys who are going to be hitting well in spring training, but on the flip, you're going to be seeing good hitters go up against average to below average pitching, who the opposing team's trying to figure out what they have. And then on the flip side, you're also going to have pitching who might pitch really well against a bunch of no-name hitters who aren't even close to cracking a big league 40 roster when it comes to that. So that always stands out to me a few years ago, remembering watching Luis Castillo struggle in spring training. I did not want him to be the Reds opening day starter, and he's kicked ass ever since then. So I don't think you could always get a good vibe for how things are going to pan out based on spring training. But I'm telling you, it's the feel of spring training to me, even in my car here in Dayton. So if I'm listening to the Reds on radio, which you can listen to every spring training game and regular season game and hopefully postseason game right here on Dayton's Home of the Reds, 1410 ESPN Radio, when I'm listening to the Reds in my car, especially now, so starting next week when I'm driving around town and I have the Reds game on in my car, all of a sudden I feel like it's warmer outside. I feel like we're done with the snow. I feel like the winter is fading in the mirror. I am looking in the rearview mirror, although it always does say, objects, appear closer in the mirror than what they actually are, except for winter. That's basically where we're at. But spring training means more to me than just what's going on the field, the sounds of the game, the crack of the bat, the hopefully fans in the stands, right? Like all of that. I love all of that. That to me just reminds me that, hey, warm weather is coming.
It's on the way.
So that's what I like about spring training baseball. So Keith, you're an example of why I have to read these before I put them up there, because then I just kill our product, Tune into Red Spring Training Action. Let's see what Keith has to say. Keith says he loves baseball, but spring training is trash. And I'm like, God dang it. What are you doing? So there's that. But I'm Justin Kinner. He's Kev Nash. Back to the Facebook feed. Justin Nickel on Facebook says, what's going on with the Russell Wilson situation? Well, I'm glad you asked. Russell Wilson has found himself in this very weird scenario where he never talks. He doesn't say anything. In fact, you would never know. I mean, he's just one of those guys where it's always go Hawks, go Hawks, everything, go Seahawks, everything. He never has criticized his team. He was upset because he felt like he wanted to be involved more in a lot of the decision-making from the front office. I don't want to get into that argument and debate again. It's a slippery slope when you let a player make one decision, although a player could make a good decision and help be a part of a decision-making committee within the front office. The first time that they make that good decision, then they think they can make all the decisions, and then there's that power struggle of, well, then what the hell do you have a GM for? Why don't you just let Russell Wilson make all the decisions? It's a slippery slope, but I also understand the concept of, man, I'm the quarterback. I'm Russell freaking Wilson. I won you guys a Super Bowl. I'm one of the top quarterbacks every single season. I'm the face of your franchise. I also understand it from that perspective. Hell, we're like that. Every one of us are like that at our jobs, where we feel we bust our asses off, and we feel, man, why didn't you ask us before you made that decision, boss? Hey, how come you added that? How come you didn't ask us about it? That's just going to make our job harder. Hey, thanks for, the bottom line is we all in all of our jobs act like we should be more involved in the decision making. And I'm not going to lie, I would love to be able to tell my bosses what we need to do around here to make things a little bit better, right? We're not privy to that. But I also am not a quarterback on a former Super Bowl winning team and all that type of thing. So I get it, but I'm also come from the side of, I'm not a fan of letting players make decisions when it comes to that. But that's what Russell Wilson's upset about. He believes that he deserves more decision making within the Seahawks organization, which has led to a little bit of a rift. He hasn't demanded to trade. This isn't the Houston Texans yet, but the agent for Russell Wilson came out, Kevin said he has no intentions of asking for a trade. He's committed to the Seattle Seahawks, but he does have a list of 4 teams that he would accept a trade to. And Greeny, I heard say it on his show today, but I'm going to take credit for this joke because I tweeted it yesterday before Greeny said it on his show, so I did not steal it from him. But I said, you cannot say I'm happy to be with the Seahawks and I'm happy to be here. I have no intentions of wanting out, but hey, if the conversation ever leads to you wanting to trade me, here's who I want to end up. If you are married or in a serious relationship.
I'm married.
Okay, so, let's say you go to Shayla and say, man, Shayla, I'm happily married, but here's a list of 4 women that I have already looked at as far as if this thing goes south. So Kev Nash has a list of 4 that he's already looking at saying, Shayla, I love you. This is a great marriage. I'm happily married.
These are hypotheticals. These are all hypotheticals.
But if you don't give me some say in what we're going to have for dinner around here, I'm going to be looking at these 4 on this list, right? That's what Russell Wilson's doing. You can't sit there and say I'm happy in Seattle. You can't say everything is hunky-dory in Seattle. I'm happy to be here, but yet you've already been checking out some ass over here. You can't do that. That's like that meme where you see the couple holding hands and the guy's like kind of turning around looking at the girl walking by. That's Russell Wilson right now. But the teams are interesting, and I hope I remember all of them. You had the Bears, the Cowboys, the Saints, and there's one more in there that is I'm totally missing right now. There was 4 teams that he was willing to be traded to, and I know that the Cowboys were one. We also had the Saints and the Raiders. So here it is. So he is open to accepting a trade to the Dallas Cowboys, the New Orleans Saints, the Raiders, or the Bears. And I find all of those fascinating. I can see
the Bears just stay on top of people's minds. I heard it with Deshaun Watson as well. Like, what is up? Why do y'all want to go to the Bears?
I think it's because of the defense. But overall, if I had to say, okay, none of those teams give me the feels inside of future Super Bowl. Like I don't feel like Russell Wilson going to the Raiders put him in a Super Bowl contention. They're close, right? But like that, they've been close for a while. Every year I hear the same thing about the Raiders. Man, another year under Gruden, they're getting there. Gruden is the only coach I know that gets 5 or 6 years in the NFL to rebuild a team. The NFL, they build teams like that, like quickly. The Browns did it like that. The Bengals are expected to do it like that. We see teams do it all the time. So I wouldn't trust the Raiders if I'm Russell Wilson. And the Saints, you're going to have plenty of offensive weapons there. So that one's not terrible. Yeah. But, they're the Dallas Cowboys, outside of it being Dallas and no state tax, and it's Jerry's world, and that he's going to go to a front office where they spend money and they're going to provide him with the weapons he needs. But if you are leaving a place because they're not letting you make a decision, the Dallas Cowboys absolutely make zero sense. Right? Like none of these places make any sense. The Saints, the Raiders, or the Bears. If he's interested in leaving Seattle because they're not letting him in on some of the decision making, I don't get why any of those other 4 teams make any sense. As if they're going to allow him to be in on the meetings. I just don't get it. I really don't.
The thing about Russell is 100% correct about what you said. Like he's always been the guy back when he was at Wisconsin, go Badgers, and he gets to Seahawks, go Seahawks, and his interviews are bland. It is straight out of cue card reading. It is nothing. He gives you absolutely nothing. So this is definitely different. And a couple of weeks ago, we talked about this. And one of the main things I was hitting on is communication between not only the player, but the organization. Obviously, communication is fractured between the both of them right now. Like the communication isn't there. So they're not communicating. They're not on the same page. But I will say this for Russell Wilson in his defense. You think about a guy who was the best quarterback in the ACC when he was at NC State. They moved away from him for Sean Glennon. People forget that he was at NC State. He was a prospect at NC State, and the only reason he ended up at Wisconsin because they said, hey, man, if you're playing baseball and not at spring practice, we're going to have to pull your scholarship. So I think he's always had like this, like, well, hold on, man. Like, hey, I look at all these other schools across the country and I see dual sport athletes. You see, like, especially back when he was in college, half the Texas football team was on the track team running spring track and not at spring practice. So all these things are going on. It's like, hey, man, hold on, dude. I'm playing baseball. What's the big deal? But y'all move off of me for Sean Glennon. See how that worked out for him and NC State Wolfpack, and see how it worked out for Wisconsin. And then we see who's the better quarterback in the NFL. So I just think that he's just like, hey, man, what's going on? Why does it have to be like this? Why do we have to constantly be in a situation where we can't run the ball? Like we always go back to Marshawn Lynch and beast mode, but how come we can't run the ball? Offensive line is shoddy. And it's shoddy at the worst positions. It's shoddy at left tackle and it's shoddy at left guard. So it's shoddy on his blind side. So these things do need to be fixed. Now, is he going about it the right way? I can't say he is. I can't say he isn't, because this appears to be the way things are going, especially with star quarterbacks. It appears that star quarterbacks in the NFL are turning into the NBA style of handling business.
I don't think it's turned into it yet because no team has budged.
No, I didn't say it has.
This is why the Deshaun Watson deal is huge, because the second Deshaun forces his way out, like he's trying, but I mean, Houston's coming back and said, nope, not doing it, not trading you. So nothing has started. I mean, it started as the players are trying, but I think that you could see some, what's that called? We heard it a lot, collusion. There could be some collusion behind the scenes, or these owners are they're going to stick together and say, don't budge. Once you budge, we're all screwed. And I do see a scenario here where the Texans, the future of how the NFL is going to deal with this is up to them, because the second Deshaun Watson successfully gets his way out of Houston and gets to wherever, that's the tip of the iceberg. And then it's just going to, and again, for me, my preference for sports, I don't want that. I kind of like quarterback stability. I think that's how teams stay successful, is the quarterback stability. But then we see teams waste their quarterback talent. Seattle reminds me of when the OKC, when the OKC, they got to the finals and they started taking pieces away instead of adding to it. That's what they've done with Russell Wilson. They got to the Super Bowls early. I know that they paid him. And to your point, it's up to the front offices to be able to draft and scout enough talented players, maybe on the cheap, to be able to do it. But on the flip side, there's also not been a team that has successfully done that. I mean, the team that just won the Super Bowl, Pro Bowlers galore. I mean, you know what I mean? So I am intrigued by how this is going to pan out, because I do see, and I called it from the beginning, I don't see Houston trading him. They're going to be bad with them. They're going to be bad without him. And I see ownership collusion behind the scenes saying, if your quarterback demands out, and it's a superstar quarterback, if Derek Carr goes into the front office and says, I want to be traded, they're like, okay, that's fine. Like, it's not like their organization. He's the face of their organization. Deshaun Watson, face of that organization. Patrick Mahomes, same thing with Kansas City. Russell Wilson, Seattle, that type of thing. So, and by the way, the Dak Prescott thing is not even similar to those guys at all. I think that's separate, but I find this fascinating. I'm really curious.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a change in the guards one way or another. Collusion is nothing new in sports. Owners have been colluding.
I don't like that phrase, because collusion.
It's real though. But it's real though.
And so is what the players are doing. That's collusion on their end.
I don't think the players have done it in the NBA or NFL. The Major League Baseball players have been colluding for decades.
Well, your definition of collusion is what?
Having basically meetings saying, hey, we're not doing this until we get what we want.
That's what the players are doing.
No, as a collective.
But I think that's what the superstars are doing. It's a small percent.
Is a all independent thing. But in baseball, they've been doing it for years. I mean, they basically say, the players union says, you go to the highest bidder, no matter what. Whoever is the highest bidder, that's who you go to. In the NBA, it's starting to lean that way, and this is the first inkling of that in the NFL. And for teams like the Houston Texans, honestly, I think it would behoove them to trade Deshaun Watson. I mean, you don't have first round picks, you don't have second round picks, you don't have cap space. Doesn't this alleviate all those issues you're having? So you're willing to put yourself in a more of a losing position than to get yourself out of this bad spot. Like, that's all. It's like basically like somebody out there that's in a bad financial situation and saying, no, I'm a work it out, and instead of filing for bankruptcy. Like, hey man, if you just file for bankruptcy, it all goes away and you could start over from scratch. But you just got so much pride in yourself to say, no, I'm going to work 9 to 10 jobs to pay off this $300,000 credit card debt, instead of just biting the bullet and say, I'm going to file for bankruptcy and that's it. Like, I think outside of my personal feelings about Deshaun Watson and how crazy things are going on with the Houston Texans, hey, you've been put in this position by whomever the GM, whoever the owner was. That's water under the bridge. We got to deal with it here now. We're in a bad position right now. We have a star quarterback, and we have people calling us willing to give us first round picks, second round picks, and we can just start all over. Like, you, at some point, you got to just swallow your pride and say, look, man, what's best for my organization to get back on track and get it over with. I think that probably behooved them to just say, you know what, swallow your pride, which these dudes are billionaires, and they didn't get to be billionaires by swallowing their pride a lot. But for the best thing for your organization, to get picks and to alleviate money, trading him probably is the best thing to do.
But they also know the best thing for their franchise is to have their franchise quarterback, and his pride's kicking in here too.
Oh, for sure.
There's pride all over the place.
Absolutely.
When you go back to the collusion thing, that's exactly what the players are talking about. I mean, that's how the Miami Heat formed together. That's how they met behind the scenes. Hey, here's what we're going to do. We're going to force our way over here. Hey, that's exactly how Paul George got away from, who was he just with that
OKC.
Before he came at OKC? He had just signed an extension. Everything was hunky dory over there. Everything was fine. Like, he was cool. And then Kawhi and him get talking behind, which not against, but the players do it too. That's why I get mad when the owners are meeting behind closed doors and saying how they're going to approach things collectively. I'm like, but you have to. That's what the players are doing. So if the players are meeting of how they're going to attack this, then the owners have to be prepared too. So that's why the word collusion has a negative connotation to it. But I do believe that I mean, I hate the term collusion, and I'm not saying that there isn't bad usage of collusion,
right?
But I do believe that there is some good business practices in that from the ownership side and from the player side. Both are after all the same things. Both all want to win, and both all want a ton of money. But the problem is the organizations have the money to give to the players, and the players have the talent that deserve it, and they have to pay the players to get the tickets or to get the butts in the seats and get the eyes on their product. It's a very delicate balance of who's in the right and who's in the wrong when it comes to all of this. I'm not really taking sides here. Like I don't like the situation with Deshaun Watson because, as we've said, I think it was Joe Thomas today. I was tweeting at him about, he was saying people need to realize that Deshaun Watson wants out because the organization has no future. They traded away all his favorite players. They have no future. That's why he wants out. And I said, I get all that. I agree with that, by the way. And I definitely, he's too good of a player to stay in that situation. My problem is all of those things were true. They're true now, and they were true when he signed that extension. And that's going to be a tired argument by the time we get to the point where they trade him. But if that's really why he wants out, all of those things were true 7 months ago when he signed that extension. That doesn't mean he can't force his way out, but it's hard to get everyone on board to feel sorry for you when you knew that. You knew they got rid of Hopkins. You knew that the coach was on the verge of being fired. You knew that everything was caving in on top of you. But at the same time, I think he also knew, okay, I know I'm going to get my money, but I'm not going to get this money. I mean, I'm about to be the second highest paid quarterback in the league. But when you do that, there are not sacrifices, there are consequences of perception. And the perception is well, you can't come out and tell us, well, the coaches is bad, the players are bad, the organization's bad. All of those things are true, and they were true the day that you signed the contract. That's where I'm having a hard time of balancing it out.
It's a lottery ticket, though. It's a lottery ticket. It's saying, like, if you won the Mega Millions, on Thursday night, are you at work on Friday? You're going to call me and be like, hey, man, no show today. I got something to do. Like, and that's exactly what he did. The lottery ticket was there. Sign here on the dotted line to cash that check. Absolutely. Where do I sign? And then things continue to go to hell in a handbasket. And I mean, I get it. I get what you're saying. You're right. Like, I truly believe there's something else there that went on behind the scenes that we're probably not going to find out until he is traded. If he is traded, that's when we'll find out, because I think they're keeping things very close to the vest. Because, I mean, we see Russell Wilson's agent coming out and talking. Like, we're not really hearing Deshaun Watson's agent out there talking. We're not obviously not hearing directly from Deshaun Watson. Once he's traded, if he's traded, we'll hear more behind the scenes stuff about what really went on and what pushed him over the edge. Because I do believe there's things that can happen in between you agreeing to a contract and saying, oh yeah, I believe in the organization. And then 5-6 months later, things can deteriorate. Like, we see that, like, I mean, not to be talking about like relationships and everything like that, but like, I have friends who've gotten married and divorced in the same year. Like, so like, things can be great on Monday and be terrible on Friday.
All right, it's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash here on 1410 ESPN Radio. 457-9464. That's the number to call in. And keep in mind that we'll continue to talk about this stuff coming up in the next hour. Also coming up here in just a few moments, I'll have information for how you could win a $25 Skyline Chili gift card. If you love Skyline, and I'm a big fan, I'm all about the Skyline, by the way. I love Skyline. By the way, I can't see. This is why we need everyone back at the bus. So we can start getting them food drops again. We need the food drops again, right? But no, if you love Skyline Chili like we do, we have an opportunity for you to win the $25 Skyline Chili gift card. But I need everyone to head to Facebook right now, search the Justin Kinner Show, like and follow the Justin Kinner Show page on Facebook, and we'll tell you how we're going to pick our winner on the other side. But head to Facebook right now and get on board. It's only for those who are tuning in live on Facebook that can win this $25 Skyline Chili gift card. So keep that in mind. We'll be back in a moment.
Listen, stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, right here on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM.
So you think you have unlimited data,
Recalculating.
Think again. If you have unlimited data on a network you can't trust, your data is limited, and so are you. Set your smartphone free with the unlimited plans from Total Wireless. Get 4 lines with unlimited data on the nation's best network now with 5G, with 100 gigabytes at high speed, then 2G for just $25 a month per line.
You have arrived at your destination.
Get unlimited and save. Total Wireless. Do amazing. Available at Total Wireless stores. See TotalWireless.com for terms and conditions.
At Charmin, we heard you shouldn't talk about going to the bathroom in public, so we decided to sing about it.
I love my Charmin Super Mega Golden Rolls. Yeah. Goals last long. It's TP Goals. Yeah. Charmin's got 6 rolls in one. Lasts forever on my buns. Only Super Mega when I'm cleaning. Charmin's got my booty believing.
Charmin Super Mega Roll is 6 regular rolls in one. Enjoy the go with Charmin.
Does heel pain make you hobble just getting out of bed in the morning? If heel pain is affecting your ability to exercise and meet your walking or running goals, relief is as close as your local podiatrist. Podiatric physicians are highly trained doctors who specialize in medical and surgical treatment of the foot and ankle. Ohio Foot and Ankle podiatric physicians are available across the state and are devoted to providing the highest quality foot and ankle care. To find a member of the Ohio Foot and Ankle Medical Association near you, visit associationsadvanceohio.com.
Looking for a career and not just a job? Then Dayton Progress is looking for you. Dayton Progress is the leading international manufacturer of tools and tooling components for the metal stamping industries and has immediate openings for entry-level machinist. No prior experience is required, and Dayton Progress will train you, starting with the basics. They offer competitive wages with merit increases after 90 days of employment. They also offer private health care, including vision and dental, free life insurance, a contributory 401k, bonus programs, promotions from within, company service recognition, and 100% tuition reimbursement to local state colleges. Dayton Progress is a great place to work and has been a Dayton landmark for over 70 years. Apply today by emailing your resume to jobs@DaytonProgress.com. That's jobs@DaytonProgress.com. Dayton Progress is an equal opportunity employer.
Love Bob Evans for breakfast? Feed the whole crew with a fresh, cracked family meal to go. Serves up to 6 for as low as $3.99 per person.
Reds baseball is finally back. Don't miss the Redlegs' first spring training game of the season this Sunday afternoon at 3:05, right here on Dayton's home of the Reds, 1410 ESPN Radio. On Twitter, make sure to give us a follow. Search 1410 Kinner for Justin Kinner on Twitter. That's 1410 KINNER and ESPN Dayton for the station Twitter handle. We are Dayton's home of the Ohio State Buckeyes.
And into the end zone goes Chris Olave. KJ Hill, 6-yard touchdown catch. Right sideline and down he goes to the end zone.
WING 1410 Dayton's ESPN Radio. It's the Justin Kinner Show, live here on ESPN Dayton, 1410 Wing AM. Tweet the show at 1410 Kinner or give us a call at 457-9464. We now send you to the Wing Studios in Kettering. Here's your host, Justin Kinner.
All right, we welcome you back in. I'm Justin Kinner. He's Kevin Nash. Took just a quick breather there, and we're back at it and rolling here on a Friday. Hope everyone's enjoyed their day and has big plans for this upcoming weekend. With Selection Sunday and March Madness quickly approaching. In fact, when we come back on Monday, it'll officially be March, so how about that? That's pretty dang cool. The Reds will have their first spring training game of the season coming up on Sunday, 3:05 the first pitch, 2:50 the pregame right here on Dayton's home of the Reds, 1410 ESPN Radio. But again, entering March Madness coming up, Selection Sunday. We just had Clark Kellogg on the show earlier this afternoon. And for those of you who missed it, you can head to wingam.com and catch it there. You can also follow our YouTube channel, ESPN 1410 Wing AM's YouTube channel, and you'll be able to watch all previous shows as well as tune into shows live, watch them live, and even catch select segments like the one we just did with Clark Kellogg just a little bit ago. So we'll have some of that coming up. Now, I need everyone to head to Facebook. Scott Skaggs just liked the Facebook page, so shout out to Scott. He wants to know, he says, diehard Cowboys fan here. Do you think Dak Prescott has a future in Dallas? I can't get a good vibe for exactly what's going on in Dallas. I think what it comes down to is I watch First Take. I watch every show on ESPN throughout the day, and every one of them talk about Dak Prescott as if he is in the same category as a Russell Wilson, who has won so many, has been to the playoffs so many times, has won so many playoff games, has won a Super Bowl, and that's been my biggest argument. Dak Prescott's good, but I don't think he's Russell Wilson. And you know me, I'm not even that, I'm not a huge Russell Wilson guy, but I'm not I think the Cowboys can win with Dak Prescott, but time in and time out, there has been so many big game opportunities for Dak Prescott to ball out, and he comes up flat every single time. But in the games that don't matter, his numbers, he stacks them up with the best of them. I think he's a good football player, but I do believe that, they've provided him with weapons. He has the run game. He has the offensive line. He has the receivers. And not really counting this past season, but the previous season when they weren't playing good football, but you had a bad Eagles team in the winter of that. I mean, it was the NFC least for back-to-back years. Mm-hmm. And he had a prime opportunity to win that game against the Eagles late in that 2019 season to get the Cowboys to the playoffs, and they got shut out. He couldn't even – he threw for under 200 yards. He had 2 interceptions. He did not throw a touchdown. That's alarming to me. And those moments, I think, stick in Jerry's head and the ownership. Right or wrong, I think it's taking one game and blowing it up big picture, but I do believe it comes down to that is he's had weapons, he's had talent, he hasn't maximized it, and they don't want to maximize their money with him because the thing is, Aaron Rodgers, they gave him all the money he wanted, and they don't give him a lot of offensive weapons, but he makes everyone around him better. And you could say that about a lot of quarterbacks around the NFL. The elite ones make those around you better. Well, there's talent around Dak, and I don't know if he makes them better. That's my concern about Baker. I'll be 1,000,000% honest. I'm the biggest Baker backer out there, but I'm not convinced that he makes guys better. He needs talent around him to work. And same thing with Dak. But when guys are out with injury, Dak didn't make anyone better. Baker doesn't make anyone better. I haven't seen that from Baker yet. I haven't seen it from Dak. So when it comes to asking for Russell Wilson money, I get why the Cowboys are like, I don't want to give you that, but we will pay you, but we're not paying you that much. You haven't done that. I just don't see it working out in Dallas. I still wish Seattle would just call Dallas and say, hey, he wants to end up in Dallas. Russell Wilson would fit well in Dallas. Dak Prescott is I hate that when people use the poor man's phrase. I hate that because it's a negative. It has so much negative connotation to it. But I do. Dak reminds me of Russell Wilson a little bit. They play very similar. I think that would actually be a decent trade if both can get their money in that situation. So no, I do not see him in Dallas long term. I think one more year on the franchise tag, which they have to like March 9th or 11th to get that in. But I don't see him in Dallas long. Thank you, Scott, for asking. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be there after this upcoming season. I think Dallas has made it clear that they are not sold on him, and that's fine. They're going to franchise tag him most likely because I think the big problem is it's not necessarily the money per year. It's the fact that Dak wants to go 4 years and the Cowboys want to do 5 years. Dak wants to do 4 years because, hey, man, I can get another quote unquote bite at the apple. I can maximize my earning potential and say, hey, all right, just say, I'm just throwing out a number, say he gets a $100 million contract this time. And so he wants to say, like, all right, in 4 more years, I can get me a $150 million contract. Well, the Cowboys like, nah, dude, we're not going to do that. And it's negotiations. And ultimately, they don't believe that he's worthy of that. And that's fine. So what's going to end up most likely happening, they're going to franchise him. He's going to be their quarterback for the upcoming season. The season's going to play out how it's going to play out. I think they have enough talent to win the NFC least. They'll probably win the NFC least and be knocked out in the first or second round of the playoffs. Dak will be a unrestricted free agent. He'll find his new destination, and the Cowboys will be on to a new quarterback.
Yeah, and look, and to be honest, Dak is probably better off somewhere else where he can kind of get a little bit of a fresh restart to begin with. Look, I like Dak, but it also started too at the beginning. There's a lot of, everyone's blaming Cowboys ownership for how they're toying with Dak Prescott, but he's been toying with them a little bit too, because originally he wanted $35 million. He wanted $35 million. He wanted Russell Wilson money. Cowboys balked at that. They negotiated, went back to the table after he was going to hold out. And they said, okay, we'll give you the 35, but for what you said, the 5 years instead of the 4. So you'll get your 35 over 5 years, over 4. So then the Cowboys did agree to do 4 at 35. And then he came back to the table. So no, we're fine. We'll do 4, but I want 40. Again, it can't move. So it's like, okay, I want 4. Cowboys said 5, but I want this money. Then Cowboys came back and said, fine, we'll do that for this amount. But he goes, no, I want 4 now. I want it for 50 or 40. And it's like they've just gone back. Like both are to blame, and not blame because it's negotiations. Right. But I just don't like when people take sides at this point of the conversation, because you can't take sides until something's over with. We don't know all the details behind the scenes, but we always highlight what the ownership is doing as far as toying with the talent. But when you look at even when the team was ready to cave, then he changed the demands at the last second too, going from 35 to wanting $40 million a year, which is about what Patrick Mahomes is getting. And now I have a problem with that as well. But to be honest, I need to stop living in that world where, well, you don't deserve what he makes, because Aaron Rodgers deserves way more than what he's making. And he's making like 33 or 34. Tom Brady's been making 33 or 34. There's a lot of quarterbacks who deserve a lot more. Big Ben was at 30. I think he's at 37. Or
yeah, he was super high.
Yeah.
And but that just comes back to the fact that they kept restructuring his deal every year. So they just had to keep pushing them big payday back and back and back. And that's why they're in the situation that they are in now. Just for that, it's a situation where, he fell into a good position with the Cowboys where, they had an established starting quarterback in Tony Romo. Tony Romo gets hurt. He's a rookie guy. He gets thrust in there. They're not paying him a lot of money because he wasn't a high draft pick, and he's trying to cash out. He's trying to do what we're all trying to do. We're all trying to maximize our earner potential. But I do have a question for you, since you are a part-time Dallas Cowboy fan. Who would you rather have? Would you rather have the one and only Zeke, or would you rather have Dak on the big contract? Which guy would you rather have on the big contract?
I didn't want Zeke to begin with on the contract that they gave him. That was the Cowboys' first mistake. I did, but if I'd rather have one, I would rather have the Zeke from the rookie season, Zeke. But Zeke got his money and just.
Well, I guess rephrase it. Who you think they should have paid? Should they have paid the quarterback, or should they have played the running back? Like if they could really go back, rewind things to that time, because they were both rookies at the same time. So do you think they should have paid Dak, or do you think they made the right call by paying Zeke?
I think Zeke was more important at the time. I understood the situation they were in. Like, I think Jerry Jones also blames Dak for why they had to pay Zeke that much to begin with. Hear me out on this. So that rookie season for both, that team was damn dominant. All right. Dak had his best season as a Cowboy as a rookie, and Zeke had his best season as a Cowboy as a rookie. Head into that next season. Okay. Zeke, that's when he got suspended for all those games.
That was the second year?
Or was the third year? No, wait, this was just the fourth year, right? That was 2016. So we're heading into year 5 right now. So that was, so that second year is when he got the suspension.
I thought that was his third year, but continue.
Or the third year. Either way. So what they saw is every time Zeke was out, Dak did not play well at all. Now, you could say a lot of quarterbacks don't play well when you don't have a good run game, but a lot of that was chalked up to, you need he needs Zeke to be Dak. And okay, so if you need Zeke to be you, then Zeke seems to be the more important of the two, because Zeke is going to be good no matter who's at quarterback, was the mindset at the time. I didn't like it. I felt like they overpaid Zeke to begin with, because I feel like there's way too many good running backs out there to overpay for a running back. We'll see if I'm a hypocrite when it comes time to talk about Nick Chubb in Cleveland. But for right now, I'm sticking to my original view on that. Man, I'm dancing all around your question.
Answer.
If it meant paying, but if it comes down to paying Dak what they did at that time, Dak's very dependent on talent around him, and there's going to be less talent around him once they pay him. I know that's a lazy take on that too. It's the easy one to go towards, but that's the
it was his second year that he got suspended. You're right.
So, and then the third year is when he held out, or almost held out. He went to Cabo,
right?
So I don't know. To me, at the time, paying Zeke made a lot of sense from that situation at hand, even though I'm not a fan of paying the running back.
Sound like to me they need to pay and figure out that offensive line, because whenever the Cowboys have been good, even back in the 90s, they had the best offensive line in football. And when Dak and Zeke were clicking on all cylinders and they were high flying and everything like that, they had the best line in football. So they need to figure out that offensive line.
To be fair, every team needs to figure out their offensive line.
But I mean, they were like mauling dudes.
All right, so here's the deal. We have, how many do we have, by the way?
We got 10 of them.
We got 10.
Yeah,
holy hell. Okay, so we got a lot of Skyline Chili gift cards. Here's the deal. For those of you listening, we always appreciate you listening no matter how you do it, but we want you to head to Facebook and search the Justin Kinner Show page on Facebook and like and follow along. Head to Facebook, search the Justin Kinner Show, tune into the show. We have 10 $25 Skyline Chili gift cards. So when you get to the show page and like and follow along, here's how you can win the gift card. There's a share button down at the bottom. You need to share the live video that is going on right now. And when you share it, you'll be automatically entered into the drawing at random to win the $25 Skyline Chili gift card. We have 10. So everyone out there, I won't have time to get there. We got 10 of these babies. We're going to be drawing at random 10 names, but you have to like the show page and share the live video feed. So head to Facebook right now, search the Justin Kinner Show page. We have 10 $25 Skyline Chili gift cards. 8, right? 8. Wink, wink.
Right. Go to item on the menu.
For me, I'm the cheesecake. But you mean for the chili? That's what always gets me. Every time I go into the drive-thru, I'm like, I'm just going to get the 3 conies with everything on them and move on. But then they always have like I think it's from Cheesecake Factory too. I think that's where they get their cheesecake from. And then it says the Oreo, and I'm like, oh man. And then they have the all chocolate cake, but they do have chili dogs there too. But the cheese conies, man, with everything on it, mustard,
everything. I just go coney with extra cheese on it. And matter of fact, the last time I went over there, it was like one of them late night situations. Well, it wasn't late night. It was like 7 o'clock or whatever. And we didn't go grocery shopping that week. So nobody felt like cooking or anything like that. I was like, let's go Skyline. So we went to Skyline. And you know what? We ended up eating inside. That was like one of the first places I ate inside at since COVID and everything like that, because basically it was so clean. And the way they had the social distancing set up, like I felt comfortable. And you know how I am about stay away. And I was like that before. Like so we actually just stayed there. I mean, the food was hot, the food was ready. We ate right there. It was all good, man.
All right. So again, we have 10 $25 Skyline Chili gift cards we are giving away. And all you have to do is head to Facebook, search the Justin Kinner Show page. You got to like the show page. And we're live. It's a live video TV production of the show every single day that goes live over Facebook. So make sure you come back and visit us and continue watching the show live on Facebook. But you got to share it. Share the live video and like the show page. And we're going to be picking 10 winners here on the other side of this commercial break. But head to Facebook right now. It's very urgent that you go there right now. By the way, it's yes, the cheese conies, but the 3-way, all that stuff, the 4, all that. But I just like the little oyster crackers.
Yes, sir.
And then you take the little hot sauce and just put it on the oyster cracker, man. Oh man. And then the ice, you got to love the shaved ice, man. Like, I'm all about all the most random things at Skyline you can imagine. But we've covered the cheese conies, we've covered the 3-way. What else do they? Oh, for vegetarians out there, by the way, my fiance is a vegetarian, so I was really angry at her for being a vegetarian at the beginning until she said, "I'm not going to make you be a vegetarian." I'm a horrible supporter, apparently. But it's awesome of her not to make me. But there's so many great vegetarian options there as well. So there's that, the vegetarian 3-way for you vegetarians out there. And if just throwing that out there. All right, $25 Skyline Chili gift cards. We have 10 of them. Head to Facebook, give the show page a like, share the live video. We'll be back in a moment.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio.
ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
This afternoon will be partly cloudy and windy, a high near 46. Tonight's going to be cloudy with rain, a low around 42. And tomorrow will be mostly cloudy, a high near 58. I'm Pete Spivak for 1410 ESPN Radio.
Weather is brought to you by Cullet Propane. 98% of their customers recommend Cullet. If you wouldn't recommend your current supplier, check them out at culletpropane.com.
Does it feel like finding clothes in your fit is impossible? Tired of feeling overwhelmed with options that just aren't right? Let the experts at Stitch Fix do the shopping for you. At Stitch Fix, we make sure each piece is hand-selected for your life. So whether you're staying home or on the go, Stitch Fix has the answer for what to wear. We make it easy to find what works for you. Signing up takes just a few minutes, and styles are delivered directly to your door. Get started today at StitchFix.com. Stitch Fix, your style delivered.
O'Reilly.
Save big during Power Torque Tools DIY Day sale at O'Reilly Auto Parts with great deals on socket sets, impact wrenches, and more. Right now, get $10 off a 200-piece mechanics tool set, plus earn double O-Rewards points. That means you'll get to your next reward even faster. Visit the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts today or shop O'ReillyAuto.com.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Attention Class A CDL drivers. Looking to be more than just a number? Yoel Transportation in Dayton is looking for drivers with at least 1.5 years experience. Yoel has open positions for no-tarp flatbed drivers and no-touch regional or local van drivers. Yoel is ELD compliant and offers 401k with match, medical, dental, vision, holiday pay, vacation, safety bonuses, and now has a rider policy. Call Rick or Joe at 937-294-5933 and ask about the $5,000 sign-on bonus today.
Dutch Boy's new Platinum Plus paint with Stain Shield technology has the performance you expect from a luxury paint at a price you didn't. Platinum Plus is up to 50% more washable and stain resistant than a leading premium paint in satin sheen. Superiority ranges from 24 to 50% depending on sheen selected. Platinum Plus keeps your walls looking new longer. Menards and Dutch Boy paint have you covered. Go ahead, live your life.
Get 11% off everything now at Menards. Savings or mail-in rebate. See store for details.
Chrissy is refinancing her home, so she shopped around for the lowest rate and found it at Amerisave.com, setting her up for a lifetime of savings. It's one decision she'll never regret, unlike wearing tap shoes to a surprise party.
Sorry, guys. Just trying to find the perfect hiding place.
Pretty regrettable, Chrissy. Unlike finding that low mortgage rate at Amerisave.com that's got you on your way to a lifetime of savings. Amerisave's rates won't be this low forever, so go to Amerisave.com now. Lower mortgage rates mean higher savings. Call 866-514-SAVE or visit Amerisave.com/licensing for cost information, terms, and conditions. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all states except New York. NMLS number 1168.
Allstate now has deeper savings, and deeper savings require deep thoughts and a deep voice, like mine. Save for being a new customer. Save more for adding DriveWise, and save even more for driving safely. Visit Allstate.com or contact your local agent for a quote today. As someone once said, saving today is money tomorrow. That's deep.
Not available in every state. New customer savings based on early signing discount. DriveWise is an optional feature. Savings vary based on how you buy. Subject to terms and conditions. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Northbrook, Illinois.
New to the Wendy's 2 for $5 lineup is their classic chicken sandwich. Go grab a 2 for $5 deal and pick two faves like a Dave Single, Nugs, and now the classic chicken sandwich 2 for $5. Price and participation may vary. Limited time.
He's a former Buckeyes great and now a college football Hall of Famer. And don't forget about his 13 years of NFL experience playing for the Eagles, Dolphins, Jets, and the New England Patriots. He's Dayton's own Keith Byers. Hang out with him every Monday at noon on the Keith Byers Show, presented by Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken. Whether you're at home, at work, or in your car, tune in to ESPN 1410 Wing AM or stream us live at wingam.com.
All right, we are back. We're giving away $25 Skyline Chili gift cards, and all you have to do is like the Justin Kinder Show Facebook page. Like and follow along and watch the show weekdays from 3 to 6. But right now, it's very important that you like the show page and share the live video broadcast feed right now at the Justin Kinder Show Facebook page. So head there right now. That's how you're going to be entered into the drawing for the $25 Skyline Chili gift card. We're giving away 10 of these babies right now, and we appreciate everyone who's participating. Right here, you have Ray. Ray Arp Jr. says, "Let's go. I'm fat and need a three-way." That's the weirdest thing I've ever heard. But yeah, so they're we're done with that. Okay. Anyways, so anyone who just tuned in at that exact moment is like, what in the hell did he just say? And that's totally understandable. I get it. So a list was put out today that we're not going to have time to totally dive into, but I do want to just kind of get a few moments of it. College football's 60 best quarterbacks of the 2000s. Kev, ESPN put this list out. And right away, it had Baker Mayfield.
So over the last 20 years.
Over the last 20 years.
Okay.
Over the last 20 years. All right, to give you a little bit, so for number 60 on this list is Kevin Kolb, quarterback from Houston. 2003, 2006. Andy Dalton comes in at number 59 from TCU. Zach Wilson comes in at number 58. The quarterback that's coming up, to be drafted here. There's Matt Barkley. Aaron Rodgers comes in at number 56. Okay, Patrick Mahomes comes at number 54. Your boy Mason Rudolph.
He was a baller in college.
Came in at number 53. Joey Harrington, remember him from the video game? I remember, I could still see him pointing right at me on that video game, but no,
there's a billboard on Times Square.
Denard Robinson coming in. Speaking of video games as well, he was the last player to ever be featured on an NCAA video game, coming in at number 47. I'm bringing up a lot of these names because, Eli Manning, Brady Quinn, Byron Leftwich. I mean, I'm just going down and I'm still in the 30s and 40s right now. Alex Smith at number 37. Landry Jones, 36. Mac Jones, who just had a fantastic season, comes in at number 35. I'm bringing all of this up because there are a lot of really good quarterbacks on this list. Troy Smith from Ohio State at number 31. And people at Justin Fields coming in at number 27. Okay, Ben Roethlisberger at number 26. So I'm not going to go through every single one, but Baker Mayfield is number 1 on this list.
Okay.
And people have lost their minds. They are angry and furious. They say he hasn't even won a playoff game. I'm like, yeah, well, either did Aaron Rodgers, a lot of guys didn't win playoff games because the playoffs just, it started back in 2014. But Baker Mayfield completed 69% of all his passes. He had 131 touchdown passes and threw for 14,000 yards. Tim Tebow, if you ask me who I think the best quarterback has been at the college, we always get obsessed with the pros. But from the college level, to me, Tim Tebow is who I would always normally go with until you start stripping it down and looking at the numbers. Like Baker Mayfield threw for 5,000 more yards than Tim Tebow did. He threw for almost, I think, like 60 more touchdowns than Tim Tebow did in college. And Tim Tebow won national championships, and that's really all that matters when it's all said and done. But Baker Mayfield, for the longevity of it. Mm-hmm. Okay, we're coming off the last couple of seasons where Mac Jones had one fantastic season.
Right.
Joe Burrow had one fantastic season. Okay, Dwayne Haskins had a great. In fact, I haven't even checked where he's at on this list or if he is or not. Cam Newton. Another guy, one great season. Mm-hmm. All of those guys were probably better college quarterbacks than Baker Mayfield, but what makes him number 1 is the fact that he was dominant every single year that he was in college, to where Cam Newton had 1 year. Joe Burrow had 1 year. Started for 2, but we really remember him for what he did in that Heisman winning season. So to me, I have no problem Baker Mayfield being number 1.
I necessarily wouldn't say a problem. I have a couple issues with the.
Do you want the top 5 real quick?
Yeah, give me the top 5. Because I got my top 5 right here.
So Baker Mayfield comes in at number 1, Cam Newton 2, Vince Young at 3. All right. Mm-hmm. Tim Tebow at number 4, and Joe Burrow at number 5. Deshaun Watson 6, Kyler Murray 7, Lamar Jackson 8. I'm just giving you the 10. Marcus Mariota 9, and RG3 10. I love that top 10, but the order I think is where you have a problem with it.
Okay, for one, the main thing for me is 20 years is too big of a margin, because you talked about Ben Roethlisberger. Ben Roethlisberger is about to retire from the NFL. Mm-hmm. And he's on this list for college. So I think looking at this best should go in 10-year increments, because the game of football has changed so much over the last 10 years. So I think the cutoff should be 10 years. So when you do a 10-year cutoff, absolutely Baker Mayfield will be in my top 5. But since you're stretching it out 20 years, he doesn't make my personal top 5. For me, it's Tim Tebow. Now, let me say this. He's a Florida Gator. I am also a Florida State fan. I despise Tim Tebow, but Tim Tebow was a monster in college. And I know the passing stats, and I know you and I get into it about, stats and everything like that. I'm an eye test guy and that type of thing, because if you look at stats, you can go to the air raid offenses of Texas Tech and Hawaii. And I think the kid's name at Hawaii, Cole Brenneman or whatever, he put up 1 billion passing numbers, because in college football, you're not playing the same competition. You're not playing, the ACC doesn't play the SEC and that Big Ten. You play your own conference. So I don't really get caught up in stats like that. I do look at if you are helping your team win and what are you doing. So for me, I will put Tim Tebow number 1. And I really don't like even ranking dudes at number 1, number 2 through 5. But I would say Tim Tebow at 1, Vince at 2, Deshaun Watson at 3, Jameis Winston at 4. And this is where I have this is the number 5 spot is the toughest for me, because instinctually I want to say Cam, because if you look at that Auburn football team, there's three players. There's Cam Newton, there's Sammy Coates, and there's Nick Fairley. you know nothing about anybody else on those teams. But if I tell you, name some guys off the Florida Gators team that Tim Tebow won the championship with, you can name off about 10 dudes.
Let me give it a shot. Aaron Hernandez. Man, let me get another stab at it. Hold on. No, it wasn't Ray Lewis on that team. I don't know.
You're terrible. The Texas team, Vince Young. There's a ton of dudes. So for the 5th spot, I'm going to weasel out and say Cam and Trevor Lawrence. That's the weasel way of getting out of it.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Very, very tough for me. But I think that these guys that I mentioned, especially the Deshaun Watson and Jameis and Cam, I believe those guys are super high on this list because we talked about it with recruiting. Like, we think that Clemson has always been this recruiting juggernaut. When Deshaun Watson showed up, they were not that recruiting juggernaut. He was the catalyst to that team. And we just talked about how Auburn was with Cam Newton. They were so terrible after he left, they fired the head coach that helped them win a national championship game. And they were terrible before he got there. And then you go look at Jameis Winston and Florida State. They was all right. They was cool. Trust me, I know. I watch all their games. EJ Manuel, he was cool. But when he got there, they won like 30 games in a row. And then when they left, we ran into a mountain. We're terrible. So I believe that I put a lot of onus on what a guy accomplishes in championships, but also being the catalyst why you win. I mean, I was at the USC Texas National Championship game at the Rose Bowl. Basically, that was a road game for Texas. And Vince Young and that offense won that game for them. And Vince was the main reason why. So for me, I wouldn't have Baker in there. And it's not no knock on him. He wouldn't be in my top 5, I should say. He's definitely on there. But I really think that it should be shrunk down to the best college quarterbacks of the last 10 years, because 20 years, then you're bringing in Vince Young and Tim Tebow and Cam Newton. And I just think that's totally unfair to the guys that were more recently playing the game.
I think the reason he gets the nod at number 1 is because, like, when you look at the disparity in passing yards, and again, it's not always comes down to one stat, but like he's doubling up some of the best quarterbacks' numbers. I mean, he threw for like. We're talking about 131. He threw for 131 touchdowns.
And people got to realize this. This isn't just Oklahoma. Like, he was a true freshman walk-on at Texas Tech.
And balling out.
So, I don't want to sound like I'm trying to hate on Baker Mayfield. I just think it's just the 20 years is just way too big of a sample size. It's like, give me your best 5 from the last 20 years. Like, that's not fair. That's not fair to do. Like, I don't even think it's fair to Trevor Lawrence. I don't think it's fair to Justin Fields. Like, you should cut it. Like Troy Smith is on there. Like, that was like, what, 07? Like, come on, man. Like, they should be in their own category. It should be from 2000
But that's not the rules, Kev. This is based on this.
I'm making my own rules, Kenner.
Now, with that being said, like, and I'm with you too, because if I would not have seen this list and you said, Kenner, make a list, your top 5 quarterbacks from the last 20 years, who's in your top 5, I would not have put Baker in my top 5. I just wouldn't have. If I'm just starting from mental scratch where I didn't have this to you kind of skewer me one way or another, I don't think I even would have thought of Baker as my top. In fact, let me just try right away. The first 5 quarterbacks that come to mind over the last 20 years is Vince Young. Okay, right away it's Vince Young. Hell, I'm not going to say Matt Leinart came to mind too, but it's because of Vince Young.
And
Reggie Bush.
Won. He was the quarterback of a team that won 2 national championships and played for 3.
Yep. So Cam Newton right away comes to mind. Cam Newton, Tim Tebow definitely comes to mind. And then you go around and you start looking at these big name quarterbacks for the last 20 years. You're right. There's so many names that come to your mind before you even get to some of the players over the last 5. But I brought up Baker because he threw for 14,000 yards. He threw for 131 touchdowns. Cam Newton threw for 3,000 yards and 30 touchdowns. Again, he didn't. He was, I think, at least was a major starter for 1 year.
Yeah, he was a freshman at Florida, got kicked off the team, went to JUCO, showed up at Auburn 1 year. I'm the number 1 pick. I'm out of here.
Now, Vince Young, he played for 3 years.
Yeah.
He threw for 6,000 yards. Now, he was so electrifying to watch play because of what he could do with his legs as well. He rushed for 3,000 yards. So, that's pretty sick right there. But Vince Young threw for 44 touchdowns. Baker Mayfield nearly threw for 100 more than that. That's, so then, okay, Tim Tebow. Tim Tebow played what seemed to be forever.
Yes, that's a fact.
He only threw for 9,000 yards. he didn't ball out. Baker Mayfield threw for 5,000 more yards than he did. And he threw 88 touchdowns. Baker threw for 130. But again, Tebow it's the championships mixed with the leadership, mixed with the everything. That's why still to me, I would put Tim Tebow there. Joe Burrow threw for 9,000 yards, 78 touchdowns, played for 3 years.
9,000 yards, probably about 7,000 of them came
in that
last year.
No doubt.
For Baker, the thing about it is people forget, we talked about his Texas Tech. He's been starting since day one. So it's not a knock on him, but when you start for 4 years and you're productive for 4 years, and not only you're productive on a Texas Tech team who's middle of the road as a walk-on, and then you go to the high-powered Oklahoma Sooners, and then you get a new coach like Lincoln Riley dialing up plays left and right, and you're already a talented dude, you're going to ball. Let's not forget that Baker Mayfield led Oklahoma Sooners to 2 college football playoffs. People remember the epic game that they had against Georgia, probably the best college football game, playoff game outside of the Ohio State victory over Bama. That's the one that I think of the most, the loss that they had to Georgia. But they also played Deshaun Watson and Clemson in Miami that one year. So, he's led him to the college football playoff multiple times.
Yeah, Deshaun Watson coming in at number 6 on the list. Keep in mind, played the same exact amount of years as Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence, his stats are better than Deshaun's across the board. And I'm not saying I would pick Deshaun as well. Deshaun, there's more to Deshaun than Trevor Lawrence, because Trevor Lawrence was able to go to Clemson and be who he was because of the work that Deshaun Watson did. But Deshaun, and by the way, it's not. The numbers aren't that much better than Deshaun Watson for Trevor Lawrence, by the way. Deshaun Watson threw for, about 10,168 yards. He threw for 90 touchdowns, 32 interceptions. If you go to where Trevor Lawrence is ranked at number 11, threw for 10,000 yards, 90 touchdowns. He threw 17 interceptions, and 5 of those came in that first 2 weeks of his sophomore season. Remember when everyone was like, he's the worst quarterback ever? Because, and then he had 18 rushing touchdowns compared to 26 rushing touchdowns for Deshaun Watson. So this list was fascinating to me. I really, Lamar Jackson coming in at number 8. Good. I'm glad they put him in the top 10. He's a Heisman winner.
Yeah, that's
should have. He nearly won if he had a better team the second year, because he wasn't worse the second year.
Better.
Yeah, he was better, but the team.
I don't know about top 10.
Really?
No.
But he was so close to winning back to back.
He's electrifying, no doubt about it. Electrifying. And I mean, in college, where the passing windows are way wider, he was.
Kyler Murray at 7. I don't like that either. He shouldn't be in the top 10 either. But he was also at Texas A&M. He threw for 50 touchdowns, 5,000 yards, and a lot of those came in that 1 year with Oklahoma, though, after sitting behind Baker Mayfield for a while. Marcus Mariota, good, top 10 quarterback. RG3, another guy that nearly won 2 Heismans. So, a lot of these guys, all of them won Heismans, right?
Yeah.
Go through the list real quick. Baker, Heisman. Cam Newton, Heisman. Vince Young. No, Vince Young didn't win a Heisman.
Nope. Reggie Bush won that year.
No, he didn't. Tim Tebow, Heisman. Joe Burrow, Heisman. Deshaun Watson, did he win a Heisman? No. And then Lamar Jackson, yes. And then, of course, looking at Marcus Mariota, he didn't win one either. What year did he win that? The year that Ohio State, took care of business. I'm going to round out the top 20, and then, Johnny Manziel, it's another name. I would probably put Johnny. In fact, what the hell? Johnny Manziel is a top 10. I would put him in the top 10. In fact, I would take out Kyler Murray and put Johnny Manziel.
That's fair.
Kyler Murray plays 3 years in college. I would probably put him ahead of Johnny Manziel. I think his numbers would have been better than Manziel's. But Manziel, yeah, I would put in the top 10 with that. Kellen Moore at number 14. Sam Bradford. There's another one I forgot about.
Kellen Moore, Boise State, right?
Yep.
Hey, that's one. That's one. We talk about Tebow being a winner and all that type of stuff. I know it's Boise State, but you got to think that's when Boise State was traveling to USC and traveling to Virginia Tech and things like that, taking the show on the road and winning these big time ball games. So that's a good pick. I like that. Jameis
Winston at 16. Again, I'm looking at him. But again, I don't know how you can look at him and say, well, he only played 1 year?
2 years.
So 2 years. Let me ask you this. Better career as a college football starter, Joe Burrow or Jameis Winston?
I'll say Jameis Winston.
I'm with you.
And I'm not going to be out here by a country mile, but this dude was next level, man. And that's what I'll be talking about. When I say the college football game has changed so much, when you like now when you think about college football, it's all about the pass. Like running the ball is like almost secondary. Like for now in today's game, it's about passing the ball. So when you pull up stats from guys that played in the 05-07 season, let's go look at their running back. Let's go see what their running backs were doing. Because you got to think, like USC, yeah, they were loaded with tons of talent, but let's not forget Reggie Bush and Lindell White were over 1,500 yards. Your backup running back had 1,500 yards rushing. So, and then Matt Leinart, oh man, he threw for 3,000 yards. Then that's crazy. But like now, if the starting quarterback is only throwing for 3,000 yards, he's playing like 13, 14 games, like, man, he had a rough year. No, that offense was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Matt Leinart coming in at number 17. He threw for 10,000 yards. He threw 900. I think Matt Leinart's too low on this list.
That's where you get the, well, dang, he has so much talent around him argument. Like that's where
Joe Burrow needs to be out of the top 50.
That's what I'm saying. That's how quarterbacks in college football is perceived. Like if somebody was to say like, oh, he shouldn't be that high, look at all the talent around him. He's the prime example of that.
Andrew Luck coming in at number 18. This list fascinates me. I still think Matt Leinart should be higher. Jameis Winston definitely should be higher. Andrew Luck, maybe a couple spots higher, I guess.
Won some big games. He beat USC. He won an Orange Bowl, I believe. Yeah, and that was back when like bowl games really still counted.
Tua Tagovailoa at 19. I give this list credit because at first I was like, there's a lot of recency bias in here.
That's what I was about to say.
But Tua, I'm actually proud of them for putting Tua at 19. I think he should be higher, but I'm surprised they put him at 19 because he was electrifying in college. But I think he gets the. Do you get penalized for the brand? Do you get penalized for being a Bama quarterback? Right? Like,
I hope not.
So
hold on. He's at where?
He's at 19.
And where's Mac Jones?
Mac Jones was in the 50s.
Okay. I was just making sure.
So Phillip Rivers rounds it out number 20, by the way.
See, that's my thing. Like, in reality of a quarterback, Phillip Rivers should be top 5. Phillip Rivers was incredible in college. But he didn't win national championships. He played at NC State. He played in the ACC and not the Big Ten or the SEC. Like, Phillip Rivers was a dog.
How about I keep breaking all my rules. Oh, we're only going to go here, and then I keep going. Carson Palmer at 21. Okay, that's about right.
Started that year, the rebirth of USC.
Yeah. Case Keenum at number 22.
Baller.
Absolutely. He threw for 19,000 yards. Holy crap. Are you kidding me?
That's what I'm saying. Like how
he threw for 155 touchdowns. So why? Because Baker got the Heisman, but these numbers kill Baker's numbers.
That's what I'm saying. Like college football is a very unique sport, and that's why I don't necessarily rely on the numbers because he was in that Houston pass-happy offense. So of course his numbers are going to be inflated, but he was a baller and he balled out in that system.
Last one here, the most disrespected name on this list, Jalen Hurts. He's at 23. He should be way higher, mainly because he balled out everywhere he went. I know he's going to be penalized because having to be replaced in the national championship game by Tua. But you look at his, he threw for 10,000 yards. He had 80 touchdowns, 43 rushing touchdowns, and he was great at Alabama. And he went to Oklahoma and nearly won a Heisman at Oklahoma. I think that the fact that he did it at 2 different programs, I'm not a big fan of the players bouncing all over the place thing, but I think it's even more impressive the fact that he left Alabama, went to Oklahoma, and then took a step forward and was even better there. So I think he should be higher, but I'm doing what I hate people do. Oh, he shouldn't be an all-star. Oh, or I can't believe he's not an all-star. Well, who should he replace? Well, who would I replace with Jalen Hurts? I was going to say Case Keenum, but the dude threw for 20 freaking thousand yards, man. Like,
I love the fact that Jalen Hurts transferred to Oklahoma to better himself, and it actually worked out. It actually worked out for him. He was able to get drafted higher, and it's looking like he has the Eagles starting quarterback position, man. Kudos to Jalen Hurts. And people love that do it the right way thing. He definitely did it the right way, just like Joe Burrow, quote unquote, did it the right way.
Agree.
Graduated and followed, quote unquote, all the rules and did it their own way. So kudos to both of them.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. If you're just tuning in, what we did, and we're done here with this for right now, ESPN put out a top 60 quarterbacks list of the 2000s. College football, top 60 quarterbacks. Baker Mayfield came in at number 1, Cam Newton 2, Vince Young 3, Tim Tebow 4, and Joe Burrow 5. And then, of course, we were only planning on doing this for a few minutes, and it took off, and rightfully so. But very interesting nonetheless. You got to love lists. People hate lists, but the lists are very intriguing and interesting, and hook, line, and sinker for us every time. We'll be back in a moment. We'll close the show out on the other side of the break. Obi Toppin in the NBA dunk contest. We'll close out with that next.
Listen, stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, right here on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM.
Tie ball game with the shot clock winding down now. Jones takes the ball at the point, off the high screen and roll. He puts up the shot at the buzzer, and it's
Timothy's Bar and Grill on Brown Street. Dayton Flyers basketball fans can't make it to the arena this season, but want to experience a safe electric college game day atmosphere? Timothy's Bar and Grill is the spot to support the Flyers all season long. Follow Timothy's Bar and Grill on Facebook and Twitter for select game day specials. Go Flyers!
Do you have an old sports program, baseball, photo, ticket, or game-used equipment just collecting dust? Sports Investments wants to buy your sports memorabilia. They're also interested in old sports cards and also buying political, aviation, and entertainment items. Bring your collectibles to Sports Investments and get a fair value on the spot. If you decide to sell, they'll pay you immediately. Sports Investments is the largest buyer of memorabilia and cards in the area since 1993. Sports Investments also feature the best selection of autographed memorabilia, sports cards, and other collectible items for sale, including all your favorites like Tiger Woods, LeBron James, Joey Votto, the Bengals, the Browns, the Big Red Machine, UC, XU, UK, NKU, UD, Louisville, Notre Dame, and Ohio State, just to name a few. You'll enjoy the experience of dealing with the Walter family. Call them at 513-891-5000. Email Adam at sportsinvestments.com or visit them on Montgomery Road, right off I-275, just 40 minutes from WING. The Perenzino brothers hold monthly online building material and home improvement auctions featuring quality home improvement products. Go to pbauctions.com for all the details and bid on name brand home improvement products, including flooring, kitchen, doors, decking, barn siding, trim, plumbing, lighting, tools, and so much more. All to be sold online. Visit pbauctions.com for preview times and bidding details on the next monthly auction near you. And we'll see you online at the Perenzino Brothers Auction.
Merrell Guided Investing. Visit MerrillEdge.com/investing goals. Merrill Lynch, Pierce, Fenner, and Smith Incorporated, both a registered broker-dealer and investment advisor. Member SIPC.
Hey everybody, it's Stephen A. Smith, and everyone knows my feelings on Cowboys fans. But really, Justin Kinner, you're a Cowboys fan and a Browns fan? Good Lord have mercy. I don't know what the hell to do with y'all. I really don't.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. Weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio. All sports, all the time. This is 1410 ESPN Radio.
All right, we are back. I'm Justin Kinner. He's Kev Nash here on 1410 ESPN Radio. Listen, stream, and now watch. Watch us live on Facebook. Dayton Flyers Obi Toppin, or former Dayton Flyers Obi Toppin, now with the New York Knicks, who's been just fighting and struggling to get some decent playing time this year. He's averaging about 9 to 10 minutes a game. Coach Tibbs just not big on playing rookies, although the Quickly kid from Kentucky has quickly become a star in the league. How about that, by the way? How about that? He's quickly become an up-and-coming star in this league, and they're comparing him to Lou Williams. They're giving him a lot of comparisons there, but Obi's been very efficient in the time that he has been given, but obviously has not taken off in the league the way many people thought. And many people out there believe it. Maybe he would take off if you give him more than 10 minutes a game. Clearly, look, I get it. He's playing efficient when he's out on the floor, but there's something in practice that is keeping Coach Tibbs from fully trusting him to give him a lot more playing time. Plus, he's, Julius Randle. You're not going to take minutes away from Julius Randle on top of that. And I do mean this. I think if the Knicks knew that Julius Randle was going to be what he was, I don't think they'd take Obi Toppin with that pick. And that's no slight to Obi Toppin. It's just they drafted him at a position that they already had too much at anyways. I mean, they had Taj Gibson. They had Julius Randle. They had way too much talent piled up at that very position right there. So, they released Taj Gibson early. I don't think they expected Randle to be as good as what he was and what he's been this year. And I think that they thought they would have more minutes for Obi. There's just no minutes available for him right now when Randle's playing like a top 10 player in the NBA right now. He's not, but he's playing like one right now. And the Knicks are in playoff contention for the first time in a long time.
Yeah, I caught some of the Knicks game last night. Like they had I want to say 70 bench points last night.
They're deep. They're one of the deepest teams in the league. Not a title
Those
contender, but my
70
goodness.
points off the bench.
I mean, good for them. I mean, you have Austin Rivers there. I mean, it's not a star-studded team, but it's a lot of really good
Derrick
players who are
Rose just
buying
came
in.
back.
Yep, and he's been a good veteran leader to have in that locker room. But Obi Toppin has announced that he is going to it's according to reports, I just want to make sure I'm reading that correctly, that he is going to enter the dunk contest. Obi Toppin's favorite dunk contest performers of all time. According to Nick's videos on Twitter, he says Zach LaVine, who's, by the way, I did not realize was balling it out this year.
Yes, sir.
I'll be nice about him now. But Zach LaVine, Vince Carter, and Aaron Gordon. He's Obi Toppin, okay, he does. He says, I have a lot of studying to do to come up with something that nobody has seen before. And I think that a lot of Flyers fans are very familiar with what he can do with the ball in his hand from a dunk perspective. So we shall see.
The crazy part is it's next Sunday, man.
It's a week from this Sunday, yeah. And I tell you what, Obi Toppin versus Zion Williams in the NBA
That's
dunk
what we want to
contest
see.
final.
That's what we want to see.
Right
That's what the people want to see. That's what the people demand. That's what the people want to see. Like Zach LaVine already said he's not doing it no more. Aaron Gordon said he's not going to do it anymore. Like those guys, they had their time. It was awesome. But the next generation of NBA players that we want to see in the dunk contest. Look, man, I'm sure there's some great dunkers out there. But look, we want to see Zion and Obi. Like basically forget everybody else. Let's just y'all two just go out there and do it. Like,
yep.
That means it's going to be spectacular.
And I know a lot of people want to see. I mean, look, Obi he's a household name around here. I don't know how much of a household name he is around the league, and it's tough for him to get to that status when he's getting 10 minutes of playing time, but it does help that he's playing in New York. But this is a huge, this is how Zach LaVine kind of bursted onto the scene too. Mm-hmm. He was a glorified role player. Not many people pay attention to the glorified role players, but he became a star because of his performances in the dunk contest. And now Obi has that opportunity to put his name out there as well. So again, everyone acts like, everyone knows who Obi is across the country. They don't. All right, but they're about to.
Oh, yeah.
They're about to. And I love this opportunity for him because I don't think he's got a great opportunity to show what he's made of in the league with 9 to 10 minutes a game. And it's not like it's 10 straight minutes. It's very tough to get in any kind of groove or rhythm when you're going in for 2 or 3 minutes being subbed out.
Right.
Checking back in to give him a couple-minute breather, coming back out. When I say 9, 10 minutes, if you left him out there for 10 straight minutes, he probably could do some damage.
Right.
But he's getting 10 total minutes in a game, and it's, a little couple minutes here, couple minutes there. Efficient when he's out there, but still not enough to warrant giving up minutes from Randall, who's playing really good.
I mean,
for the New York
goodness
Knicks.
gracious. I mean, nobody expected Randall to be bowling like this. Like, he's always been a good player in the NBA, but it's his efficiency now that Randall is doing. And you just can't say, all right, man, Randall, sorry, bro, we're going to take you out to put the rookie in because we need to get him some reps. Like, no, he's out here winning you games, man. The Knicks are 500 for the first time since, I think, when they played, when Melo and J.R. Smith were on the team.
They had Iman Shumpert and those guys.
Yeah, like, so you got to just roll with it, man. People are actually happy. And, it's the coaching staff and Coach Tibbs, and it's the new leadership, and it's Dolan taking a step back.
Hopefully, he continues to stay stepped back. So, continues to stay.
He'll ruin it once they make it to the playoffs and tinker with things and jack it.
He wants to put his thumbprint on it and everything like that. So there you go.
End up trading Julius Randle. All right, let's get rid of him. Yeah.
All right, folks. I'm Justin Kinner. He's Kev Nash. We appreciate everyone who tuned in and hung out with us here today. A lot of fun as always. Reds baseball spring training action. The very first Reds spring training game of the 2021 season is this Sunday. The Cincinnati Reds and the Cleveland baseball team. 3:05 the first pitch, 2:50 the pregame, and you can catch that spring training game as well as all spring training games, regular season games, and yes, hopefully October postseason baseball right here on Dayton's home of the Cincinnati Reds, 1410 ESPN Radio. So make sure you tune in this Sunday for Reds baseball. All right. This is March. This is the last show in the month of February. We're heading into the month of March now, Kev. It's going to be really exciting because we're, Red spring training baseball officially is underway. Championship weekend coming up around the corner too. You have a lot of conference champions going to be determined over the next couple of weeks. Wright State's going to be in action on Tuesday. They have Milwaukee, a chance to punch their ticket to the semifinals at Indiana Farmers Coliseum in Indianapolis, where the semifinals and finals will be held, and they'll have a chance to get back to the NCAA tournament. The Dayton Flyers Flyers close out the season on Monday, I believe, on ESPNU at 5 o'clock against St. Bonaventure. They're looking to hopefully close out the season with the win to take some momentum into the A-10 tournament. They're going to have to win, I believe, like 3 games in 3 days.
They can do it.
And look, and that's what we talked about yesterday. Everyone's like, you need to rest players. You need to rest these guys. They got to play 3 games in 3 days. I'm like, they're 18, 19, and 20-year-olds. When they were 17 and 18 in high school, they were playing 3 games in 1 day. I don't feel bad that they have to play 3 games in 3 days. If you're good enough, go win. That's all that matters. Folks, have a great – so real quick, Dayton Flyers Monday, St. Bonaventure, and then the A-10 tournament starts next week as well. So a lot of champions about to be crowned. Selection Sunday, not too far off in the near future. So have a great night, everyone. We'll do it again next week. Until next week, it's been the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio. Kev, have a good weekend.
Thank you. You too.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash.